Good evening, it's 3 p.m. and welcome to the Daubney Show. Martin Daubney Show on GB News with me, Chopper, until he gets here. Now, broadcasting live across the UK with our very latest news and debate and analysis until 6 p.m. Here's what's coming up on the show today. Breaking news now, the serial rapist and former Metropolitan Police Officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. A rebel alliance of 80 left-wing Labour MPs is plotting a coup against Sir Keir Starmer, with even Starmer allies saying it's not if, it's when he goes. And tonight, a hard left protest against Labour's racism, Arvin PM's days numbered. A top cop is blasted by patriots after she claimed that St George's flags are tools of division. I'll be joined by a police and crime commissioner who was at the speech and says, "I was shocked."
Men at least 20 years to speak up about what happened to them during childhood.
You're talking generations of men that have not been able to speak up.
1 in 3 victims of child
Over 150,000 boys will be sexually abused this year in the UK. Today, to mark International Men's Day, I'll be joined in the studio by a brave male survivor to break the silence on what's been called the last great taboo of abuse. And great news, Scotland have qualified for the 2026 World Cup finals in the USA, Canada and Mexico by beating Denmark 4-2. It's the first time in 28 years that the Tartan Army have gone through. We'll be getting all the latest reaction.
Absolutely tremendous. I watched the game last night. It was fabulous. I don't think anybody expected that result, but yeah, absolutely over the moon. Can't believe we've done it.
Let's start with the breaking news. Former Met Police Officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. Joining us now with all the news on this is the GB News Home and Security Editor, Mark White.
Well, this former Metropolitan Police firearms officer is already one of the country's most notorious and prolific sexual offenders, having previously been found guilty of a total of 71 separate counts against 12 women of sexual assault, of rape and other offences. That was in 2023, serving a life sentence with a minimum of 32 years in prison that he must serve before he's eligible for parole. But now this 50-year-old, just in the last few minutes, has been found guilty of another 9 counts relating to a grown woman and a 12-year-old girl, she was at the time. Sexual offences committed against this 12-year-old girl back in the 1980s, multiple counts, which David Carrick had denied. And with regards to the woman, he had been, we're told, in a relationship with the woman, had raped this woman on multiple occasions. He was found guilty of that and also found guilty of coercive and control and bullying control of this woman as well. 9 counts in total that will be added to the 71 previous offences that he had pleaded guilty. At this time, at the Old Bailey, David Carrick had pleaded not guilty to the offences that he was charged with. So a trial had to take place at the Central Criminal Court and a jury has had to decide on that case. Now, the jury was told about the previous convictions, the fact that he had those 71 other offences against 12 separate women. And that was something that they could take into account, but it shouldn't dissuade them from obviously weighing up the evidence at the end of the day before them in this particular case. Now, David Carrick decided just earlier this week that he was not going to give evidence on his own behalf during this trial. So effectively the defence case rested not long after it began because neither David Carrick or any other key witnesses spoke on his behalf in David Carrick's defence. And so in that case, there was not much of a defence beyond just David Carrick's denials that what these now both grown women were saying was actually the case. Now, as I said, this is a man previously found guilty of all those sexual assaults and rapes against 12 separate women. This followed from the conviction of Wayne Couzens. Now, David Carrick was a firearms officer with the Met's Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Command, those armed officers that are tasked daily with guarding Parliament, key government buildings in central London mainly, and of course embassy buildings throughout the capital as well. That's their function. But also as part of that unit was Wayne Couzens, another firearms officer who, as we know, went on to kidnap, rape and then murder Sarah Everard when she was picked up from the street in southwest London by Wayne Couzens, showing his identity card, his warrant card, saying that she was guilty of some kind of infraction, as it was still during the COVID restrictions. She was, as I say, kidnapped, raped and murdered. When Wayne Couzens eventually went on trial and was convicted of those charges against him, the publicity from that brought some of David Carrick's victims forward, and that's how the case against David Carrick was put together. But it was a case that really just tore apart to a large degree the Metropolitan Police, because following fast on the footsteps of Wayne Couzens, to have another serving firearms officer guilty of such horrific offences, it was a really tumultuous time. And of course, we remember that the previous Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Cressida Dick, resigned on the back of the David Carrick convictions.
Well, Mark White, thank you for that update. Shocking news, it really is. Now, moving on, the Prime Minister is vowing to fight any leadership challenge as he faces a potential rebellion ahead of a difficult budget next week. As many as 80 left-wing Labour MPs are reportedly gathering to put forward a candidate to replace Sir Keir Starmer. I'm joined now by the former Labour Culture Secretary, Sir Ben Bradshaw. Sir Ben, thank you for joining us today on Martin Daubney's show. When my wife first heard about the plans to replace Keir Starmer, she couldn't believe it. I think outside of the Westminster bubble, no one's talking about it.
Well, I think your wife is absolutely right to treat these reports with some caution, Christopher, I may say so. I mean, I don't know whether left-wing Labour MPs are plotting to get rid of the Prime Minister, but I think they'd be better off getting on with the jobs they were elected to do, which is to represent their constituents and deliver on behalf of this government. Look, some people seem to think that politics is a daily popularity contest. As a seasoned political veteran, it's not. It's a 5-yearly verdict on the record of a government. This government's 17 months in. It's had a tough time. It's had to take some very difficult decisions because of the inheritance it has. But I think people should knuckle down, keep calm, support the government, get it to deliver better and more quickly, and then be prepared to face the electorate in 5 years' time.
But that just ain't happening. Labour's dragging in the polls way behind Reform UK. I mean, it's not working, is it, for Sir Keir Starmer? And why did he need to go into the Daily Mirror yesterday on the front page and say he will fight the next election 16 months after that landslide? He clearly believes he's in trouble, and that's been reflected by the MPs.
Well, I don't know whether he thinks that, but look, governments always trail in the polls, or usually trail in the polls when they're in government, and particularly when they've had to take very, very difficult decisions. I'm not saying that there aren't things that I think Keir Starmer and his Number 10 operation need to improve. I think there are, and I think he needs to act on those urgently. Governments also always lose elections when they're in government, local elections, regional elections. So colleagues who are, or Labour MPs who are feeling a little bit jittery, should just focus their minds on the general election in 3.5 years' time. It's tough being a government. Not every day is easy. You're not going to be loved for everything that you do, but the public will make a judgment in 3.5 years, not in the next few months.
He's a decent man, Sir Keir Starmer. I know him pretty well privately. You know him far better than I do. He's decent, no question. He just can't communicate what he's trying to do, can he? You look at Wes Streeting, Shabana Mahmood this week. They are born communicators. Wouldn't they be better fitted for that job in number 10?
Well, look, we've had prime ministers in the past who were very effective, who weren't the best communicators in their cabinet. And I think Keir communicates in his own way. I think he does a perfectly effective job. He usually beats Kemi Badenoch at prime minister's questions. I think he's got better. I think he needs to focus more on the domestic agenda. He's done a great job on the global stage. He needs to transfer some of that success to the domestic agenda, focus on the domestic agenda, get out in the country, sell what he's doing. And the government's done some good things, you know, interest rates coming down, inflation coming down, real wages going up. Go out and sell that and talk to the public about what you're doing and what you're going to do in the next 3.5 years.
And all the while, the clock is ticking and the poll lead increases for Reform UK. Well, what do you think should happen in number 10? You mentioned earlier things need to change in number 10. I mean, is getting rid of Morgan McSweeney, his chief of staff, the answer? I often think that's almost a coward's way out, to try and attack the people around the individual rather than make the person themselves change their ways.
I agree with you on that. I mean, I think the Prime Minister has to decide who works for him in Downing Street, but clearly the communication, not just to the country, but to the Parliamentary Labour Party, is not as good as it needs to be. And I think after the last few weeks, Keir is very conscious of that. But the idea that a leadership challenge or someone who drags the Labour government to the left is the answer to the challenge from reform is absolutely for the birds, I'm afraid. You know, the governments win in this country on the centre ground, and that remains the case. And if Keir can knuckle down, deliver, do what they said they would do in their manifesto, build on some of the good things that have already happened, keep the economy stable, be fiscally responsible, reduce waiting times in the NHS and improve public services, I think he's got every chance of winning the next election.
But of course, just finally on Labour, the problem the party's got is this resurgent Green Party. Zach Polanski's surging the polls since he took over in September. So maybe some of your members and MPs are looking at that, the left, and saying, well, let's move to the left where those votes are. And of course, you're moving away from where the Reform supporters are.
Well, a little bit like with Mr Farage and Reform, the Green Party hasn't really come under an awful lot of scrutiny yet. I suspect if it continues to ride as well as it's doing in the polls, it will come under a lot more scrutiny. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of its policies, some of which I agree with, a lot of their policies are completely barking mad. So I think at the next election, progressive voters, people who may have voted Labour in the past but are feeling a bit disillusioned at the moment, faced with the stark choice between a second Labour term under Keir Starmer or a Farage government with Reform, I think many of them will come back to the Labour Party and vote tactically against Reform.
OK, well, Sir Ben Bradshaw, thank you for joining us on Daubney today on GBNews. Thank you. Great to see you. Joining me now is the peer and former Labour MP, formerly John Woodcock, now Lord Walmley. Lord Walmley, great to see you on GBNews. Really appreciate it. Is the clock ticking on Sir Keir Starmer? Will he fight the next election as Labour leader?
I think at the moment it is hard to find a path to Labour winning again with Sir Keir Starmer. But the question is whether this level of destabilising check can possibly be justified right now. The country are, as Ben has just said, looking at us, or looking at the Labour Party to be able to deliver and change their lives. And you've seen a really major change of approach, a properly reforming Home Secretary in Shabana Mahmood, setting out changes to the asylum system, and probably with many of your viewers, that has actually broken through. But of course, everyone will be looking at that with some level of scepticism and saying, OK, well, we like what we hear there, but let's see you deliver it. And that is going to be the challenge. And it starts with holding the Labour MPs together to be able to go through what are unquestionably difficult reforms for the centre and the left, to be able to show the country that this Labour government actually means what it says.
So if not Keir Starmer, who? Is it Shabana Mahmood? She had a very good week this week with her plans. If she can deliver them, not proven yet. If they work, she's got a real chance there, I think. Or Wes Streeting is talked about, of course, or someone else. I mean, that's where maybe they'll be good at facing the Reform voters, but maybe not so much on the left.
Well, Wes and Shabana are proving to be outstanding politicians, members of the cabinet, and they are the ones who I think are most seriously looking at changing the areas for which they are responsible. I think it's no accident that the ones who are standing out are the ones who are being most serious about understanding the scale of the challenge to reform our country. And the Labour Party is always attracted at moments like this to veer off back into its comfort zone, to pick someone who makes them feel warm and fuzzy inside, from the soft left, even from the far left, as it was with Jeremy Corbyn. But I hope there are enough of my parliamentary colleagues in the Parliamentary Labour Party as MPs who understand that is just absolutely not where the country is. And if the exam question at the next election is going to be how a Labour Party, a reforming Labour government, can withhold the threat from a resurgent Reform Party, it has to look to someone like Wes or Shabana to be able to have a hope of doing that.
Is it over then for Sir Keir Starmer? And why do you think he got it so wrong? He told us, and I was there in these speeches at the election, he would tread lightly on the lives of voters, and that hasn't worked. Is it just he didn't have it in him? There's lots of Rishi Sunak, I think, in Keir Starmer. I know them both pretty well, I think, from covering them. They're both decent people. They can't communicate what they want to do in a clear way that's understood by voters. He
is a decent person, but and I don't think it is over. It's not over, and it's not over until you go in number 10. But no one, I think, will underestimate, or I hope they don't underestimate, the scale of the challenge to win back, yes, the trust of the Parliamentary Labour Party, who feel pretty battered and bruised, whether they're people who feel that they have been sold difficult policies that they want to do, or I think the Labour MPs who were defending some of those difficult policies to the hilt and then found that the leadership was U-turning on them at the last minute and making them feel silly. So he has to win trust back there. Yeah. But then, of course, most importantly, he knows he has got to improve his standing with the country. You can't ignore the popularity figures with the public. That is saying something, and he knows that he will have to find a way to change that.
Lord Walney, formerly John Woodcock, Labour MP, formerly now Lord Walney, thank you for joining us today on Daubney. We really appreciate you coming on. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Moving on, the country has been hit with its first cold snap of the winter season. It's very festive out there. Joining us now from Cumbria and Yorkshire is our Humberside reporter, Anna Riley. Anna, look at you. How is it? It looks nice and sunny but cold.
That's it, blanketed by snow here. We're just on the border of North Yorkshire and Cumbria, and as you can see, the moors around here have been completely blanketed in snow. It comes as there is the yellow weather alert in place for all of Northern Ireland and many parts of England, Scotland and Wales, with an amber weather alert coming into place tomorrow at 3 a.m. For Thursday, lasting until 9 o'clock for parts of the northeast and Yorkshire. Now, with this, the Met Office are warning of travel disruption, and it happened to me and the cameraman earlier. We were just trying to get a little bit higher up here towards Tan Hill. It's a pub that's renowned for getting snowed in weather conditions like this, but because of the black ice on the roads, we had to turn back. So there are gritters out in place, but there is warning of disruption to travel on the roads and public transport as well. There's also also health alerts that have been put in place by the UK Health and Security Agency. That means that there can be more pressure on the health service and that people should check on vulnerable relatives and vulnerable neighbours and people that they know as well, just to check that they're okay in these cold conditions. In Scotland as well, in the north of Scotland, there has been disruption with schools shut as well. So that could be another potential impact tomorrow in the northeast and in Yorkshire as well, with that amber alert coming into place. And of course, as well as the disruption it can cause, though, we have seen many pictures from across the UK of people out and about walking in the snow. We've seen a couple of dog walkers here as well, people out making snowmen as well and making the most of this. But certainly a real change in the weather. Waking up this morning, we've had a fairly mild November so far, but certainly the chillier weather is coming in now. We can feel that we're coming more towards winter. So the advice is just check on vulnerable people, wrap out warm when you're going out. If you're in your car as well, just make sure that you've got items in there in case you are to break down, and check before you travel as well is the advice that has been given. But look out tomorrow when there's going to be snow hitting parts of the northeast, parts of Yorkshire, and by Friday we should be seeing some more mild conditions. But in Scotland, certainly wrap up warm, as it could drop to -11 tomorrow night. And as I say, it's around -2 at the moment. I'm glad of my scarf and of my gloves.
Anne Riley, great to see you. Get your skis out for the next time we see you. And can you throw a snowball for GB News? Can you get some snow and chuck it around? It looks, I'm very jealous of seeing it.
Why not? Throw there, there we go.
There we are.
It's quite
very
fluffy.
Jealous.
Sorry, John.
John, the cameraman, getting quite grumpy about it, I'm sure. Listen, great to see you, Anna Riley, there, and to John Clark, the brilliant cameraman for us in the north of England. Time for the Great British Giveaway now, and there's just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to enjoy Christmas on us this year.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Still to come. A police chief says the St George's flag is intimidating and stokes fear. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation,
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
and each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray,
Are you a human trafficker?
boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
you're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. I'm Christopher Hope on GB News. I'm very pleased that the man of the hour is joining us now, Martin Daubney. Martin, over to you.
Chris Hope, well done, you're a legend. I've been saying all week, you're getting a taste for the high life, doing all the presenting malarkey, and suddenly you step in and save the day. Chris Hope, absolute legend. See you again soon, my friend. Thank you very, very much. Now, let's get stuck into the show. We've got a corker. Next story. A police chief has said the display of national flags on Britain's streets has become, quote, a tool of division and intimidation. Well, Emily Spurrell, the chairwoman of the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, told a conference that the display of flags was part of a disturbing trend in rising hate-fuelled rhetoric. Well, let's now speak with the Hampshire Police and Crime Commission and also for the Isle of Wight. And it's Donna Jones. Donna Jones, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have your company. Donna, I understand you were at this speech and I understand you were somewhat shocked by what seems to me an absurd thing to say.
Well, yes, Martin, good afternoon. I have been actually at the National Policing Conference. It happens once a year. It's been in Westminster for the last 2 days, and we had the Home Secretary speak to us just an hour and a half ago as well. And yes, the comments were made yesterday, and I have to say that, you know, those comments don't reflect the position of all police and crime commissioners, and I particularly am one of them who actually do welcome people using our national flag, of enjoying it, embracing it. And I remember about 6 weeks ago getting up on a Sunday morning, going out in my car and getting to the bottom of my road and seeing all the Union Jacks along the road and thinking how splendid they looked. But the key point for me, Martin, is why are people flying the flags? What does it mean? And why is it they feel like Britain is losing its national identity to the point where we have had literally hundreds of thousands of flags flown all across Britain? I think those are the points the government need to be answering.
Donna Jones, they might do better off putting you in this top job. You're speaking absolute common sense. But guess what? It got worse at this speech yesterday. Emma Spurrell also started having a pop at Shabana Mahmood, saying that her rhetoric, quotes, is demonising communities and that reforms to the asylum system must not come at the cost of compassion. What on earth has the border control situation, what on earth has the asylum situation got to do with this copper?
Yeah, well, I completely agree with you. Emily Spurrell is the Police and Crime Commissioner for Merseyside, and she is the chair of the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners. And you'll remember, Martin, that's a role that I held for 2 years up until September last year. Emily took over from me. Now, I'm a Conservative. She is as Labour, as I say, and she fundamentally disagrees with the Labour Home Secretary. I think the Labour Home Secretary has set the Labour Party into some sort of turmoil with what some are deeming as her very right-wing policy. policies on immigration and a whole load of other things. I don't believe that Shabana Mahmood is in fact demonising anything. I think she's reflecting, actually, as it happens, the thoughts and opinions of the majority of people in this country who are sick to death of uncontrolled immigration, who are really deeply frustrated with the fact that they don't feel communities are as safe as they have been in the past. And actually, they have welcomed, as Kemi Badenoch has, as Nigel Farage has, you know, we've got national political leaders who've come out this week and actually backed what the Home Secretary has said, but we've had a Labour Police and Crime Commissioner for Norfolk quit the party last Friday over the Home Secretary. It seems that Shabana Mahmood is making quite an impact in the Home Office and certainly setting a number of hairs running within the Labour Party. How long will she last? Will she last longer than Keir Starmer? I guess those are the questions.
Well, Donna Jones, the policing oath used to be police without fear or favour. I put it to you, if you're banging on about flags being intimidating, if you're wading in about asylum process and border control and immigration policy, that's not policing without fear or favour, it's taking a side. It's not a copper's job to take a side, it's a copper's job to apply the law without politics. I put it to you, if somebody's intimidated here, it's Emily Spurrell, and she should perhaps do one.
Yeah, well, let's be clear. She's not a police and crime. She's not a police officer. She is an elected police and crime commissioner. She's a Labour politician voicing her Labour view, I guess, on behalf of the people that she represents. The key point for me is that is her opinion. It's not the opinion of all police and crime commissioners. Now, my point around this is these flags signify an issue in this country. They signify an issue of a breakdown of community cohesion. They signal people who have lived in this country all their lives feeling like we're losing our identity, and that's why the British flag is being used in a way to embrace and say we're British, we should be proud of that. And that is one of the key things that I think the flags have been representing. That is what the government should be looking at. Why are people flying the flags? The protests are still going on post Southport last year. In my own patch, Hampshire in the Isle of Wight, we've spent over £250,000 on protests alone in the month of August, just on policing protests. That's how much I've had to spend out of my budget. So it is about what this signifies. The government are in significant pain. Community cohesion is breaking down. Communities are very divided. And the ultimate reason why a lot of these things are happening is because of the uncontrolled immigration into this country and what that signifies. And that's what the Home Secretary needs to be addressing people about.
Donna Jones, always a pleasure to have you on the show, doling out common sense. Thanks for joining us today on GB News. Now it's Wednesday, so I argue for 3 hours with Nigel Nelson. Nigel, you're joining me here. This is an absurd story. Emily Spurrell, the chairwoman of the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, has got no remit, no point to bang on about being intimidated by St George's flags and to start droning on about immigration policies. Nothing to do with her.
Well, she's a politician. So in that sense, yes, it is. I mean, I think that Donna made the point that that police and crime commissioners are not police officers. What they are is elected political role holders. One of the reasons why it's being abolished, because, in fact, what do they do, really? So in this particular case, what Emily Spurrell was doing was expressing an opinion. She says that she finds flags divisive and intimidating. Whether it's tough or not, that is a police issue. In the event that flags do cause division and intimidation, the police will obviously get involved in that.
I'm just lost for words. The Police and Crime Commissioner is actually telling all the top coppers in Britain that flags are intimidating. She's setting the tone
expressing
for
her
how
opinion.
Our streets are policed. No, and I put it to you, if she finds flags intimidating, go to another country.
No, but the point basically is, I'm not saying I agree with her. What I'm saying is that she has every right to express her opinion as a politician, which is what she did. And police and crime commissioners are politicians. So it also has a knock-on effect on the police, because if there is trouble because of flags, the division and intimidation that Emily Spurrell is talking about, the police will have to deal with it. So the two things are connected.
I wonder if she feels intimidated
view.
by the Palestinian flag. I bet she doesn't. I wonder if she feels intimidated by pride flags. I bet she doesn't. Well, specifically and deliberately, once again, choosing the national flag to get intimidated about. It's pathetic.
Well, I don't know whether she's intimidated by Palestinian flags, Ukrainian flags, whatever flags, but she is making a point that, in her view, putting up flags, the Union Jack and the St George's flag, is a divisive statement. Now, we've had people in the studio that you and I have talked to who've been putting flags up, and they talk about unity. They're doing it for the unity of Britain and being proud of Britain. That's great. But other people have different views. I mean, maybe that they have been causing division in Merseyside, where she is the police and crime commissioner. I don't know. But she is free to express that view, and it does have a knock-on effect to policing.
OK, Nigel Nelson, we'll have to agree to disagree. It's only 25 to 4. It's going to be a beautiful day. Thank you very much, Nigel Nelson. Now, loads more still to come between now and 4 p.m, including it's international...
And at least 20 years to speak up about what happened to them during childhood.
You're talking generations of men that have not been able to speak up.
Yes, it's International Men's Day today, November the 19th, and I'll be speaking to a psychologist and a survivor of male sexual abuse next. First, it's time for your latest news headlines, and here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Good afternoon. The top stories from the GB newsroom. Serial rapist and former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. The 50-year-old from Stevenage, who's already been jailed for life, has been convicted of molesting the girl in the late 1990s and raping the woman during a relationship more than 20 years later. Inflation has dipped to 3.6%, the last reading before next week's budget. Rachel Reeves says it's good news, but the Conservatives accuse Labour of fueling higher prices. Opposition parties and campaign groups are urging Rachel Reeves to target the wealthy instead of broad tax rises in her budget. The Chancellor is reportedly considering higher property taxes on the most valuable homes. And the UK must step up to a more dangerous world, John Healey says, revealing a Russian spy ship has been sitting on the edge of UK waters. The Yantar, designed to map undersea cables, allegedly shone lasers at RAF pilots amid rising incursions, drone disruptions and 90,000 cyber attacks on UK systems. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me at the top of the hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, things are going to turn by the weekend when things will be a bit wetter and also milder, but for the time being we're sticking with this cold Arctic theme, with air coming down from the north driving plenty of wintry showers. Now, it's in areas exposed to this brisk northerly wind where we're seeing the showers, so northern parts of Scotland, down the eastern side of the UK and also western parts as well, so across Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, southwest England. A lot of the showers are going to be readily falling as snow, particularly towards the north. Even further south, though, some winteriness quite likely. Elsewhere, staying largely dry through the rest of today and overnight. Clear skies for many, allowing temperatures to plummet. It is going to be a cold, frosty start for many of us tomorrow, and there'll be some icy patches to watch out for as well. Starting off then across the northern half of Scotland, continuing to see more snow showers piling their way in, and these are going to lead to snow accumulating pretty high amounts in some places. Staying dry across central and southern Scotland, however. Across Northern Ireland, wintry showers coming in. Watch out for some icy patches as well. Similar across parts of Wales and southwest England, and down the eastern side of England, more wintry showers to watch out for. As we go through the day tomorrow, particularly over the North York Moors, we are expecting snow totals to really build up. We could see 15 to 25 centimetres above modest higher ground, and so that's enough to cause some significant disruption. Many places, however, away from the western, eastern and northern coastal parts, staying dry. Some sunshine on offer, but temperatures well below average for the time of year. A cold feel to things, even though the winds will be ever so slightly lighter than they are today. More wintry showers coming in from the north as we go through tomorrow evening and overnight, penetrating a bit further inland across parts of northeast England, and then a cold night to come as we go into Friday. A bright start for many of us on Friday, but rain arriving from the west, and then some wetter weather this weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation, because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. A road incident on the A90 restricts southbound traffic near the Balmeedy junction. The Britannia Bridge on the A55 enforces a speed limit of 30 miles per hour. In Surrey, a collision leads to one lane closed on the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 6 and 5, causing 40-minute delays. In Essex, the A12 southbound is closed between junctions 15 and 12 due to a police incident, with normal conditions expected by 4:45 this afternoon. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Great Western Railway face disruptions between Wigan, North Western and Warrington Bank Quay, and Westbury and Trowbridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It's 3:39. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, today marks International Men's Day, and a campaign has been launched. A campaign has been launched to give men a voice and help them to speak about sexual abuse, as 150,000 boys are abused every year. Now, the campaign is called Inside the Boys Club, and take a look.
It takes men at least 20 years to speak up about what happened to them during childhood.
You're talking generations of men that have not been able to speak up. Oh, I was abused as a child. In a men's society, worst thing.
Well, joining me now in the studio is the consultant clinical forensic psychologist, Dr. Naomi Murphy, and the sexual abuse survivor, Andy Woodward, who featured in the video there. Welcome to you both. Andy, let's start with you. Of course, today is International Men's Day, and it's a day when we talk about issues like this. But I have to confess, as you know, Naomi, I was an ambassador for International Men's Day for years. It still takes my breath away, the sheer size, the magnitude of this issue. 150,000 boys sexually abused this year alone. 1 in 3 victims are male. People don't know about this. It's the last great taboo. And Andy, this impacted your life. If you don't mind, would you mind sharing your story with us?
Yeah, I mean, it is 9 years this week that I did the revelation in The Guardian with Danny Taylor about my childhood from the age of 10, 6 years of rapes with Barry Bennell, who got 35 years imprisonment. He wouldn't have got that if I hadn't have been the whistleblower for it, who started this all those years ago. And 9 years on, it's important and imperative that, men matter. And, just before I spoke to a guy who said he didn't even know it was International Men's Day today. Men matter, and what I went through was huge.
And Andy, you were a footballer.
Yeah.
You were a very, very good footballer. You played for some good clubs, and that's where this began. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it started at Manchester City. I want to reiterate, I brought all this out 9 years ago, and it started at Man City. It then went on to Crewe, and this was sustained, abuse. And did the clubs know? Yes, they did. Have I had an apology now from Crewe? No, I haven't 9 years on. But I've been on a roller coaster, which is not important right now, but what is important is the future. And 9 years ago, I was all over the world doing this, trying to highlight it, looking for mandatory reporting, really wanting to get involved with the FA. That didn't happen for me. I was silenced, which is okay now. I'm ready to move forward with this. But I could go on for an hour talking about what happened to me. That's all in the past. What we're here now to talk about is, the three key areas. It'll be more than 150,000 young boys that are sexually abused each year. It takes 2 decades for men to even speak up, like myself. And, the silence, when you break that silence, now the culture has changed 9 years on. Back then, there wasn't many charities out there. Now people are talking about mental health in men. And I've seen all the charities, and I've been sat for 9 years on my own with no job, no nothing. But it's now time that I can come back and hopefully help many others around the world again. But this time with purpose.
It sort of takes my breath away to hear your story, and just to be in the presence of amazing braveness. You probably don't think you're brave, but you know you are.
They have broke my heart. Those that are accountable for this, that a party goes far higher. You know, the recent news that's come out about Andrew and Epstein, I know so much about that. Was there any boys that were involved in that? We don't know, because men don't seem to matter. And women do matter, but so do men, and so do boys. And this is why I'm here. And I've not stopped, Martin, because it's broke my heart. I've been suicidal. I've tried to commit suicide in the last 9 years so many times. And people knew, but they just pushed me aside as though I didn't exist. But it took me. I was the man that brought this out. And I've been broken. But this is where it's at now. And this is so important. This little boys... the boys' club. The boys' club is important because it's about everybody collaborating on the same page. Nobody with egos. And there's too many egos out there.
Andy, I'm smiling now because you're being amazing. You know, you've made it, and you're talking about it. And you're giving other people the permission to step into this space and feel they're not alone, not to be ashamed, and to join together. That's why I'm going to bring you in, Dr. Naomi.
Just before then, Martin, can I just really reiterate that this abuse happened to my family. He raped my sister. His cousin raped my mum's sister before I was born. So this goes generations. This is important. Do you understand that? For me and my family and my loved ones that have watched me broken. But I'm not now. I'm strong. And that's why I've got this beautiful lady next to me who is going to tell you about who she is and why she's important with this.
Naomi?
Yeah, I mean, I can't do anything but applaud Andy and the other 3 men that are involved in the project. And I think there's a reason why they're all men that are over 40 as well, because it takes men so long to be able to speak up. But as you read the stats out, you know, we know that at least 150,000 boys will be sexually abused every year. That's probably an underestimate, as the government's own website says. 42% of children that are on the Child Protection Register for sexual abuse, for risk of sexual abuse, are boys. So it's a massive issue that we don't see boy victims being represented. I think it's really important that men know that they can reach out for help, because otherwise they end up struggling with shame, and shame stops people from feeling they belong in society, keeps them apart. It plays a major role in mental health issues, substance abuse, people in prison. You know, it's a big issue for our whole society, really.
If anybody is watching this now and is touched and moved or has been affected or impacted by this, how can they get involved?
We do have a Substack, so we're posting on social media. There's a Substack called Inside the Boys Club where people can reach out. We've got a list of services where people can reach out if they need practical support and counselling and help. But if people want to get involved, we really encourage them to make contact via the Substack. And if people want to share their story publicly, then great. But just what we want to do is inspire people to reach out to those they're close to, because the reality is that many men don't even speak to their partners. They don't share it with their families, and so they're suffering in silence for many decades of their life, when actually I think most people would be quite touched when they hear that. They want to do something to help, but it's hard to help if you don't know that someone's got that issue.
I'll make sure that I give all this the help I can on my social medias and through GB News as well to get people involved. But Andy, I want to give the final word to you. I honestly, feel like just like blown away by you. I feel like I'm in I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness, because you've come out of the dark and here you are. You've not only survived, but you're just like putting your message across to the nation.
Yeah, I did.
You've got to feel proud of yourself, mate.
Yeah,
at the start they said I should have got a knighthood and all of this. So I've never been about accolades or anything. I didn't get anything, but it was for the people, and it is for the people. And this all started out because I was connected with Saint Seven. And Saint Seven was all around females, and she said to me, this is so important. So there's a big thank you to Saint Seven that did this beautiful photography and video.
It is incredible. It's beautifully put together.
Yeah, thank you.
It really, really is. We have to leave it there. Thanks for coming down to see us today.
And thank you for having us. Thank you.
Legend.
Really appreciate
Andy
it.
Woodward, Dr. Naomi Mufi, I thought a huge amount of you before today. It's just gone through the roof. Thanks for the work you do. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
What an amazing story. What a privilege. Thank you.
Well, moments ago at the Old Bailey, the police made a statement on the conviction of the former police officer David Carrick, who was found guilty of molesting a 12-year-old girl and raping a former partner. Here it is.
I'm Detective Superintendent Ian Moore from the Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Major Crime Unit. I'd firstly like to pay tribute to the two victims in this case, who were due to David Carrick pleading not guilty to all offences, had to endure the trauma of facing their abuser in court and reliving the horror of those past events. I commend their courage and bravery in doing so, and their commitment to the investigation. Both victims came forward to report further offences against Carrick after he was convicted of 49 offences against 12 women in February 2023. His convictions today are further proof, if any were needed, of the threat that he poses to women as a violent and controlling sex offender. During the trial, we heard Carrick's defence that his victims had made up lies based on the media coverage of his previous convictions, but the jury did not believe these false claims and instead believed his victims' accounts and that he is a dangerous and abusive man. I hope this case will give anyone who's been a victim of sexual assault or rape and has not reported it the courage to come forward. We are committed to tackling violence against women and girls in all forms, and I hope our response in this case serves to reassure victims of our commitment to them. I would also like to commend my team of detectives from the Major Crime Unit, who've worked incredibly hard to bring Carrick to justice for a second time. The details of his crimes are truly shocking and have been hard to hear, particularly for us as an investigation team made up of serving police officers and staff, both men and women. We've heard how Carrick abused one of his victims while being a police officer himself. When he should have been protecting people from abuse, he was perpetrating it. Not only that, but he also used his position as a police officer to scare women into silence and in doing so protect himself from justice. But this conviction today shows that no one is above the law and that the police service will relentlessly pursue those offenders who target women in this way. Thank you.
Do you think there may be other victims of Carrick?
Well, I'm joined in the studio now by GB News' Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark, David Carrick, a monster, and yet today somehow it got worse.
Yeah, indeed. Already one of the country's most notorious and prolific sex offenders. Another 9 counts to add to the 71 separate counts of sexual crimes against this man committed against 12 women over a 17-year period. Well, these latest offences related, one to a girl that was 12 years old at the time when she was abused repeatedly by him in the late 1980s. She's now a grown woman. And the other woman that he was in a relationship with, accounts of rape, sexual assault, controlling and coercive behaviour. I mean, an awful individual, but a man who wore the uniform of the Metropolitan Police, who was in that same elite unit, the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Command, that Wayne Couzens was also assigned to before he went off and abducted, raped and murdered Sarah Everard. And in fact, it was the notoriety of that particular case that brought the victims of David Carrick forward to complain and, try to seek justice in that particular instance. And there was such a fallout, as you remember, back to these allegations when they first surfaced in 2022, not long after Wayne Couzens was convicted. And it did for the then Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Cressida Dick. There was a vote of no confidence in her by the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, at the time, and she felt compelled to resign over this. Ironically, of course, the first and only Metropolitan Police female commissioner forced out by the misogynistic, horrific behaviour of this individual and Wayne Couzens before him. But he is now already serving some 32 years in jail. He was given a life sentence, a 32-year minimum, Martin, before he is eligible for parole. But there will, of course, now, in light of this, be more added onto that sentence, without a doubt.
So that tariff will be added to his existing tariff. So in all likelihood,
and probably it's the right thing, David Carrick will never see the light of day on British streets again?
I think it's very unlikely, to be honest. He's 50 years of age now. He'd be 80-odd before he was eligible for parole, and no guarantee that you'll get parole. Many people come up for parole and they're turned down the first one or two occasions that they try. So given the kind of offender and danger that he is, I think is increasingly likely that this man will never see, as you say, the light of day again.
And a lot of people, Mark White, might think that's the correct thing. He's clearly never going to be safe enough to come out, surely.
No, absolutely, and certainly, for a very, very long time. And the thing to add about him, he did so much damage to the reputation of, in particular, the Metropolitan Police, but the police service as a whole. Both he and Wayne Couzens, trust in the police absolutely plummeted. And, I speak on a regular basis to many serving police officers who were just totally crestfallen at the behaviour of this man.
Thank you, Mark White, for bringing us up to speed. Excellent as ever. Now, still to come, the knives are drawn for Sir Keir Starmer because a rebel alliance of 80 left-wing Labour MPs are plotting a coup against Sir Keir Starmer and Clive Lewis. Will he surrender his seat to let Andy Burnham back in through the back door? It's all kicking off. This is Britain's news channel, GB News. First, though, here's your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now things are going to turn by the weekend when things will be a bit wetter and also milder, but for the time being we're sticking with this cold Arctic theme, with air coming down from the north driving plenty of wintry showers. Now it's in areas exposed to this brisk northerly wind where we're seeing the showers, so northern parts of Scotland, down the eastern side of the UK and also western parts as well, so across Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, southwest England. A lot of the showers are going to be readily falling as snow, particularly towards the north. Even further south though, some winteriness quite likely. Elsewhere, staying largely dry through the rest of today and overnight. Clear skies for many, allowing temperatures to plummet. It is going to be a cold, frosty start for many of us tomorrow, and there'll be some icy patches to watch out for as well. Starting off then across the northern half of Scotland, continuing to see more snow showers piling their way in, and these are going to lead to snow accumulating pretty high amounts in some places. Staying dry across central and southern Scotland, however. Across Northern Ireland, wintry showers coming in. Watch out for some icy patches as well. Similar across parts of Wales and southwest England, and down the eastern side of England, more wintry showers to watch out for. As we go through the day tomorrow, particularly over the North York Moors, we are expecting snow totals to really build up. We could see 15 to 25 centimetres above modest higher ground, and so that's enough to cause some significant disruption. Many places, however, away from the western, eastern and northern coastal parts, staying dry. Some sunshine on offer, but temperatures well below average for the time of year. A cold feel to things, even though the winds will be ever so slightly lighter than they are today. More wintry showers coming in from the north as we go through tomorrow evening and overnight, penetrating a bit further inland across parts of northeast England, and then a cold night to come as we go into Friday. A bright start for many of us on Friday, but rain arriving from the west, and then some wetter weather this weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for our more than 2 million YouTube subscribers and more than 2 billion views. That is Britain watching, sharing and making its voice heard louder than ever before.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Significant disruptions are occurring on several roads. The A55 has a speed limit of 30 miles per hour on Britannia Bridge until further notice. On the M55 eastbound in Lancashire, one lane is closed between junctions 2 and 1, expected to resolve by 4:45. The A38 northbound in Staffordshire faces 10-minute delays due to congestion. The A12 southbound in Essex is completely closed due to a police incident between junctions 15 and 12, expected to clear by 5:30. And on the trains, disruption is occurring between Wigan North Western and Warrington Bank Quay on Avanti West Coast. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 4 p.m. Happy International Men's Day, and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show on GB News, broadcasting live across the UK, all the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. Here's what's coming up on today's action-packed show. Breaking news in this past hour, the serial rapist and the former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. Elsewhere in politics, a rebel alliance of 80 left-wing Labour MPs is plotting a coup against Keir Starmer, with even Keir Starmer's allies saying it's not if, it's when he goes. And tonight, a hard left protest against Labour's racism. Well, the PM's day is numbered. And a top cop is being blasted by patriots after she claimed that St George's flags are tools of division. Well, I'll be joined by a Police and Crime Commissioner who was at that speech yesterday who says, I was shocked. And Scotland has qualified for the 2026 World Cup by beating Denmark 4-2. It's the first time in 28 years the Tartan Army have struggled through to the World Cup. We'll be getting all of the very latest reaction.
Absolutely tremendous. I watched the game last night. It was fabulous. I don't think anybody expected that result, but yeah, absolutely over the moon. Can't believe we've done it.
Mark White is having a pop at me. He's over there saying, struggled through. Scotland were top of the group. What do I know about Scotland? I'm English, but got to say, I did watch the match last night. It was magnificent. A dramatic overhead kick and a goal from inside their own half. What a way to knock out Denmark. Meanwhile, talking of knocking out, the knives are drawn for Sir Keir Starmer. 80 left-wingers plotting a coup. Clive Lewis, Norwich South MP, talking about surrendering his seat to let potentially Andy Burnham, the mayor of Manchester, win a by-election. Could this be the beginning of a coup against Sir Keir Starmer when even his closest allies are saying it's not a case of if, it's a case of when the PM gets the boot? Do you think Sir Keir Starmer should go? Get in touch. gbnews.com/your say is the way to do so. But now it's time for your headlines, and here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. The top stories: serial rapist and former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. The 50-year-old, who's already been jailed for life, has been convicted of molesting the girl in the late 1990s and raping the woman during a relationship more than 20 years later. Jurors at the Old Bailey found him guilty of 9 offences. Carrick is already serving a minimum term of 32 years in prison, having admitted 71 offences of sexual violence committed over a 17-year period. Detective Superintendent Ian Moore from Herts Police spoke this afternoon.
Both victims came forward to report further offences against Carrick after he was convicted of 49 offences against 12 women in February 2023. His convictions today are further proof, if any were needed, of the threat that he poses to women as a violent and controlling sex offender. During the trial, we heard Carrick's defence that his victims had made up lies based on the media coverage of his previous convictions. But the jury did not believe these false claims and instead believed his victims' accounts and that he is a dangerous and abusive man. I hope this case will give anyone who's been a victim of sexual assault or rape and has not reported it the courage to come forward.
In other news, Kemi Badenoch took aim at the government's budget plans at PMQs today. The Conservative leader accused Labour of letting next week's budget unravel before it's even been published, demanding the Prime Minister to rule out freezing income tax thresholds.
This is the first budget to unravel before it's even been delivered. The Chancellor's cluelessness, I'm afraid, is damaging the economy now. The Prime Minister needs to end this shambles. So can he confirm today that he won't break another promise by freezing income tax thresholds?
Sir Keir Starmer argued the Tories have no standing to lecture anyone on tax or living standards after years of economic turbulence.
What we won't do is inflict austerity on the country as they did. Cause huge. What we won't do is inflict a borrowing spree like Liz Truss did. They left waiting lists at record highs. Almost 1 million more children in poverty, and they wrecked our public services. She comes here to talk down the country. We're turning the page.
UK inflation has dipped to its lowest level in 4 months, dropping to 3.6% as easing energy costs take the pressure off household bills. Economists say the sharper-than-expected fall puts the pre-Christmas rate cut firmly on the table, despite food prices creeping back up, especially bread, cereals and meat. The ONS says slowing gas and electricity rises were the biggest factor behind the drop, even as families still feel the squeeze. Rachel Reeves reacted to today's news.
I do recognise that there's more that we need to do to tackle the cost of living challenges, and that's why one of the 3 priorities in my budget next week is to tackle the cost of living.
In other news, the UK must step up in a far more dangerous world. The warning from Defence Secretary John Healey as he reveals a Russian spy ship is sitting on the edge of UK waters. He says the Yantar, designed to map undersea cables, was tracked by the RAF and the Royal Navy and even directed lasers at British pilots. Mr Healey says it's part of a wider surge in global threats: drone disruptions over Europe, Russian incursions into NATO airspace and 90,000 cyber attacks on the UK's defence systems. A man has been charged with further offences following a mass train stabbing in Huntingdon earlier this month. 32-year-old Anthony Williams from Peterborough now faces accusations of trying to kill a 14-year-old boy, a 22-year-old man and attempting to seriously injure another, all in separate incidents across Peterborough on the same day. He's also charged with common assault on board a train between Hitchin and Biggleswade, on top of the counts already authorised over the Huntingdon attack. William is due in court this afternoon. Elsewhere, gunmen have attacked a church in Nigeria, killing at least 2 people and kidnapping the pastor and some worshippers, days after 25 girls were abducted from a boarding school. The attack last night in Iruku, a town in central Nigeria's Kwara state, puts more pressure on the government, which is under scrutiny from US President Donald Trump, who has threatened military action over what he says is persecution of Christians. Rapper Nicki Minaj appealed yesterday for global action to defend religious freedom. Speaking at the US mission to the United Nations, she said in Nigeria, Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes and killed. And snow is blanketing parts of the UK as a cold snap brings freezing conditions and possible travel disruption. The Met Office has multiple yellow warnings in place for snow and ice and a more severe amber warning kicking in tomorrow. Dozens of schools are closed in northern parts of Scotland. Cold health alerts are active across England until Saturday, warning of significant risks for vulnerable people. Authorities are urging everyone to keep warm, take care on the roads and to check in on friends, family and neighbours. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snap of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3106 and €1.1346. The price of gold, £3,153.33 per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,552 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Tatiana. Let's start with the breaking news this hour, and it's this. The former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. To give us the full details, I'm joined in the studio in Paddington by GB News' Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark White, David Carrick already serving a substantial tariff and now fresh crimes on top. Tell us about the latest revelations.
Yeah, justice at last for another two of David Carrick's victims. This 12-year-old girl, as she was now a grown woman, has waited since the late 80s for justice, having accused David Carrick of molesting her on multiple occasions, something he denied. But at that trial at the Old Bailey at the Central Criminal Court in London, the jury found him guilty of those multiple counts of molestation. And in addition to that, also found him guilty of rape and sexual assault and controlling and coercive behaviour relating to another woman that he was in what we're told was a toxic relationship with for a number of years, from 2014 to 2018. So this adds to some 71 separate counts of sexual assault, rape, other charges against 12 women that David Carrick has been convicted for and is currently serving time in prison. Some 32 years he will have to serve before he's eligible for parole. It's likely that sentence will now be increased in light of these latest charges, but obviously it's just terrible and unwelcome news again for the Metropolitan Police, for the police service in general, because this was a man in a trusted position, a firearms officer within the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Command, but a man like Wayne Couzens, who served in the same unit, that went on to carry out the most horrific of crimes and abuse that level of trust he had within the community.
OK, thank you, Mark White, there for bringing us up to speed. David Carrick likely will never see the light of day on British streets, and perhaps that's for the best. Thank you, Mark White. And moving on, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is vowing to fight any leadership challenge as he faces the potential rebellion ahead of a very, very difficult budget. Now, it's thought as many as 80 left-wing Labour MPs are reportedly gathering to put forward a candidate to help oust in a coup to get rid of Sir Keir Starmer. Well, joining me now is the Labour MP for Hendon, and that's David Pinto-Dudzinski. David, welcome to the show. There seems to be something of a twin-pronged attack today. First of all, the Tribune Group, 80 of them, Lucy Powell, Lisa Nandy, Louise Hay and others seem to be plotting, and suddenly a dramatic entrance, Clive Lewis, the Labour MP for Norwich South, saying he's prepared to stand down from his seat, potentially to allow Andy Burnham to stand in a by-election. All of this sounds like the daggers are drawn for your leader.
Well, look, this is total nonsense. Martin, really is just one of these Westminster bubble stories. Look, it's really striking that we're speaking in a week where it's only Wednesday afternoon, and already this week this government has announced the biggest asylum reforms in modern times. The launching of Britain's first small modular reactor in Wilford in North Wales, which will create thousands of jobs. The setting up of new arms factories that will create thousands of jobs and protect our country. And today also launching the first ever men's health plan for this country, and we're only on Wednesday afternoon. This is a government fizzing with energy and fizzing with ideas, and we're absolutely focused on delivering for the British people. I think the real story here is actually not this kind of Westminster tittle-tattle. It's the deafening silence coming from Nigel Farage. There are some very serious allegations in newspapers about some of the things he said. Members of my family were murdered by the Nazis. He needs to come out and explain himself.
Those allegations are very, very old news. They've been repeatedly lied over the decades. There's no substantive proof on any of them. I think it fits into... You talk about Westminster tittle-tattle. This, I think, could easily fall into the same camp. David, there's no substantive proof ever emerged for any of this, and be careful what you say.
Witness after witness has talked about this. Nigel Farage has yet to come out and talk about these allegations, and especially as a channel that gives him a platform. I think it's really incumbent on you to make sure he answers those questions.
David, Google is your friend. Nigel has talked about this years ago in the past when they came out, the same allegations a long time ago. This is recycled hit job. You know it. I know it. Let's get back to your own Prime Minister, neatly deflecting onto the leader of Reform, as you always do, because he seems to live rent-free in your head and in the Liberal Democrats' head. Let's get back to your leader. There are movements being made. His popularity has gone off the White Cliffs of Dover. He's the least popular Prime Minister of all time. Rather than worrying about Nigel Farage, how about worrying about your own little pickle?
We are completely focused on delivering for the British people, and that's the thing we're worried about. And look, politics today, the real division in politics is between hard graft from the Labour government actually doing things to make life better, cutting waiting lists, 5 million more appointments, wages up more in the first 10 months of this government than in the last 10 years of the Conservative government, versus hot air from Reform and the Conservatives. They have no answers. Now, look, change isn't easy. Change is hard and takes time, but it's about practical solutions that will actually make people's lives better versus fake and phony policies. And that's the core debate. And that is what this government is focusing on every day, delivering for people to deal with the cost of living, to make sure the NHS works and to make people's lives better.
David Pinto, we talked about the racism of Reform you mentioned there. Don't you find it ironic that tonight at the Home Office at 6 p.m, Stand Up to Racism of holding a protest against the Labour Party? They're saying that you have adopted the racism of Reform, Labour's racism, they're calling it. I mean, a lot of people would say, isn't it funny how a bunch of white middle-class protesters are calling Shabana Mahmood racist? I mean, on the one hand, it's an absurdity. On the other hand, though, the Labour left seems to really have it in for the Labour Party right now.
So Stand Up to Racism is a Socialist Workers' Party organisation, so they're nothing to do with the Labour Party. And Shabana's talked very strongly about the experience she's had on racism. But look, we are proud of defending the values of this as a fair, tolerant and compassionate country. But it's precisely because we protect those values that we need to also make sure that our borders are controlled and that migration is controlled. That's why we've taken action, having a record number of illegal work raids to crack down on that, returning over 50,000 people, doubling asylum decisions after they fell more than 70% under the Conservatives, and stopping over 20,000 illegal crossings of the Channel. But this reform is about going even further. As I said, it's the biggest asylum reform in modern history. It will make it, it will reduce the attraction of coming to the UK.
Will it get past the ECHR?
Yeah. Yes, it will. And in fact, this is a really important point. This government's made clear we will reform our legislation with regards to the ECHR.
David Cameron tried that. A lot of previous people have tried the same.
Martin.
Why will you succeed where previous leaders didn't?
Let me finish, because we are changing the definitions or tightening the definitions of families under our Article 8 in our law. We're working with international partners on Article 3, but this is the way you actually get change. And for those who say, well, we should just leave the ECHR, I'm afraid that is a phony solution. Leaving it would make the problem worse. You'd have to renegotiate all of your returns agreements. So if you're actually concerned about controlling borders, if you actually want to deal with the problems rather than just going for gimmicks, this is the way to do it. And as I say, once again, the contrast is between Labour with hard graft to come up with actual solutions versus hot air from Reform and the Conservatives.
OK, David, I think a lot of people watching this show will wish you the very, very best of luck trying to control our borders. But I think also a lot of people watching the show will say you might meet the same grisly fate as the Conservatives when they tried to negotiate with the Council of Europe. They're not really in the mood for negotiating, in my experience. But look, we wish you the best of luck. And David, a fantastic exchange. Please come back on the show. I love your feistiness, the Labour MP for Hendon, David Pinto-Dzyzinski. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Great to be here, Mark. Cheers.
Thank you. Pleasure, mate. Now, let's get back to the studio. Joined by GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster and GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Well, that was fantastic. I absolutely love, this spirited debate. That's what politics is all about. David, of course, will try and brush away this leadership challenge. Of course he would. But the daggers do seem to be drawn, and there are two plots here in one day. First, the Tribune Group, and then Clive Lewis giving a potential way back into Westminster for Andy Burnham.
Well, indeed, and there are many, many deeply unhappy Labour MPs. Why wouldn't there be? First of all, the government have done all sorts of things that Labour MPs don't feel that they're in politics to do. And yes, we heard him saying there they're completely focused on delivering for the British people. But there is all this talk, there is all this unhappiness. Labour's doing so badly in the polls. MPs are looking ahead and thinking they're going to be out of a job at the general election. And so two things today. First of all, Clive Lewis, the MP for Norwich South, at lunchtime was asked about potentially sacrificing his seat so the Greater Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, could come back. Of course, he would be a hot favourite, has fancied the job of Labour leader and PM for a long time. Clive Lewis said he thought it was important to put country before party and party before personal ambition. Asked specifically if he'd consider giving up his seat, he said yes, he would. I would say, subsequently, he has clarified that and said he currently has no plans to stand down. It was a hypothetical question. But aside from that, reports of 80 MPs, the magic number is 81, 20% of the Parliamentary Labour Party that would be needed to get behind an alternative candidate to challenge Sir Keir Starmer for the leadership. Reports that the Tribune Group, this left-wing group, have got that number, but what they don't have is a candidate because they don't know who would be best. Angela Rayner, that was the favourite, she got done for not paying £40,000 in stamp duty. Too soon for her to come back. Andy Burnham doesn't have a seat. It isn't at all clear who they would challenge the Prime Minister at the moment.
Nigel Nelson, infamy. They've all got it, infamy. Or is this, as David said there, just Westminster tittle-tattle?
No, it's not. David wants to present this as the Westminster bubble overheating, but no, of course it's not. It was Keir Starmer's allies who started this last week.
Yeah.
And it was that incredibly stupid, cack-handed plot, or rather to try and smoke out a plot, that began this whole thing. And what then happened, they attacked Wes Streeting. Wes Streeting was doing a series of pre-planned media rounds. He came out of those media rounds absolutely brilliantly. He is their best communicator. With the result, when you listen to phone-ins, everyone was saying, hey, hang on, we'd never thought of him as Prime Minister before, but he sounds a better Prime Minister than Keir Starmer. So the government has started this, so it's no surprise that different groups of Labour MPs are getting together and saying, right, obviously, we may be in for a leadership challenge, we ought to prepare for it.
When's it going to happen? After those May elections?
Yeah, well, there's a slight problem about Labour rules that you're not meant to, if you're the sitting Prime Minister and you don't resign, that you have to hold the leadership challenge around about party conference, so that would be September, October. May is this is his biggest danger point. If he loses an awful lot of councils, that's when Labour MPs will finally panic. We'll see how they react to the budget next week. That will be the other crunch spot, but he's unlikely to go after that.
And maybe that's why Lee Anderson raised a question in Parliament at PMQ0 and today about cancelling a round of local elections in May, because perhaps the Labour Party don't want to see the results of those elections. Nigel, Catherine, superb. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, still to come, a Reform-run council have announced they'll take down some St George's flags this Christmas. Have they gone woke? Well, their council leader joins me next. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 4:25. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a Reform UK-led council, well, they're set to take down Union Jack and St George's flags that have lined the streets in their area since the summer. Have they gone completely and utterly woke? Well, let's find out. So I'm joined now by the leader of Reform UK Warwickshire County Council, and that is George Finch. George, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. A lot of people think it's the precise opposite of what Reform would do. You're taking down flags. What's it all about?
Well, good evening, Martin. And first of all, Reform in Warwickshire has not gone woke. We cannot go woke in Warwickshire. But just to lay down some of the facts, you know, it's not us saying that they can't be put up. It's the private contractors. And look, there's people in Warwickshire that want Christmas up, so I think that they take precedent over some flags. And look, let's be completely frank. This is a pragmatic way forward. And looking at some of the flags now, they are deteriorating on these flag posts. So we want to bring them down, which is fine, clean them, refresh them, and the people can put them back up in January in the new year. It's a complete pragmatic, common sense way forward. And I think Reform would like to see our flags put up lovely and clean.
Now, George Finch, as I understand it, the council workers are saying there could be risk of fire. Spontaneously, an LED Christmas light next to a flag, it could wrap itself around it and go up into some kind of towering inferno. Is it the council workers that are actually being woke here?
Look, we know the private contractors are saying this, the parish councils are saying that also. You know, I look at it on a common basis. You have to be pragmatic about this, but when it comes to things like huge towering infernos, I doubt that's going to happen, especially in the winter. I'm not saying that. But yes, some council staff will say that, but as long as I'm leading the council, the flags are there to stay. But we have to make sure that Christmas, biggest Christian festival of the year, is adhered to. Christmas is a time where, especially with this Labour budget and this Labour government hurting families, I want the young children in Warwickshire to feel that magic of Christmas, because I do know that the high cost of energy, high cost of presents and food is going to hurt loads of families. And I just want to make sure that they can feel every spirit of Christmas. I've been to the German markets in Birmingham, the lights switch on in my town in Bedworth, and to see so many young people looking at the lights, it's amazing. So I don't want flags or anything to get in the way of people enjoying that one time in the year when they can stay as a family and really enjoy themselves, especially with this Labour disastrous government that's going to hurt everybody. So it's just about looking on a pragmatic basis.
Now, George Finch, I would never encourage a young man like yourself to go half-mast. But is there not a way, for example, of having the flag a bit lower down the lamppost and having the lights above the lamppost so they can exist in harmony? We can have a patriotic Christmas. Why can't we do both?
It's not me, it's these private contractors. Yeah, and this is the point. It's the private contractors that are working with parish councils to put them up. I don't want Christmas to be cancelled. These flags look amazing. I remember when they got put up in the summer and we were driving down the roads, and every single one, it looked amazing, and the people love it. Bedworth loves it, Warwickshire loves it. It's just that this time in Christmas, only a month, and in January you can put them back up. It's just to make sure that our young people can enjoy a little bit of magic, especially in this terrible time.
So, George Finch, just to confirm, it will be Merry Christmas and not Merry Wokemas.
Oh, definitely not Merry Wokeness, not in Warwickshire. I have no doubt about it. We will not make Warwickshire woke, not under my leadership, definitely not. Thank you.
OK, George Finch, thanks for joining us today on GB News. That's the Reform UK Warwickshire County Council leader, George Finch. Nigel Nelson, I can't believe it. Before that section, you said to me, I agree with Finch.
I do agree with that. Look, it's not often I actually agree with Reform. This may actually be a first. But what George was talking about there made perfect sense. If the contractors are saying, look, well, there's a problem we've got with safety if we have our Christmas decorations and the flags up there at the same time. George says, right, Christmas takes precedence rather than the flags. Flags come down, put away. If people want to put them up in the new year, they can go ahead.
So they're temporarily taking the flags down and they put them back up after Christmas. But, I mean, why can't they just do both? And why is it that suddenly, like, in the history of Britain, to my knowledge, never has a flag spontaneously dropped off a lamppost and blinded a motorist and caused a head-on collision? Never has a flag suddenly gone into the face of a cyclist and caused a death. Never has a flag spontaneously gone up in flames next to a Christmas tree. All of a sudden, that's all possible when they're St George's flags. It's nonsense.
Well, I mean, the idea that those flags might, say, on a motorway bridge, that might drop off onto a car going
that's different to a lamppost.
All right, even to a lamppost, it might drop off. You mentioned a cyclist. I mean, one would be one too many if it actually happened.
Well, so zero's the number that's actually happened.
The whole point is, I mean, in my area, I've still got all the flags outside.
Have any of them flapped off into the face of an oncoming car?
So far, as far as said, no, nobody's been injured by a flag.
Funny that.
And the feeling by the local police, the district council, the parish council is we leave them where they are. I'm quite happy with that, but if Christmas decorations are going to go up, they take priority.
Let's be honest, the whole flag palaver is woke people getting into a flap about it.
Well, it depends. We were talking earlier on about a police and crime commissioner
woke person getting into a flap.
For being divisive. If they are divisive in certain areas, I don't think they should be
They're not divisive in certain areas, they're divisive to certain woke people.
No, it could well be
honest.
It could well be in certain areas. And in which case then we have a problem. If people are saying, I don't mind, I'm not greatly in favour of the flags, but I'm not against them. So as far as I'm concerned, they can go up there. Eventually people will get bored, climbing up lampposts, trying to put them up.
I bet you they won't.
I bet you they do.
I bet they won't, so long as people...
Let's flags up in the new year.
So long as there are people out there saying, oh, they're divisive, oh, they're racist, they will not get bored of putting them back up. I guarantee it's going to keep on going and going. Nigel Nelson, superb as ever. Thank you very much indeed. Loads more still to come between now and 5 p.m. in this high-octane show, including... GB News understands more than a dozen immigrants who attempted to cheat UK citizenship tests are still in Britain. It's an astonishing story. Don't go anywhere. But first, here's your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. The top story, serial rapist and former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. The 50-year-old from Stevenage, who's already been jailed for life, has been convicted of molesting the girl in the late 1990s and raping the woman during a relationship more than 20 years later. Inflation has dipped to 3.6%, the last reading before next week's budget. Rachel Reeves says it's good news, but the Conservatives accuse Labour of fueling higher prices. Opposition parties and campaign groups are urging Rachel Reeves to target the wealthy instead of broad tax rises in her budget. The Chancellor is reportedly considering higher property taxes on the most valuable homes. And the UK must step up to a more dangerous world, John Healey says, revealing a Russian spy ship has been sitting on the edge of UK waters. The Yantar, designed to map undersea cables, allegedly shone lasers at RAF pilots amid rising incursions, drone disruptions and 90,000 cyber attacks on UK systems. Those are the headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now things are going to turn by the weekend when things will be a bit wetter and also milder, but for the time being we're sticking with this cold Arctic theme, with air coming down from the north driving plenty of wintry showers. Now it's in areas exposed to this brisk northerly wind where we're seeing the showers, so northern parts of Scotland, down the eastern side of the UK and also western parts as well, so across Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, southwest England. A lot of the showers are going to be readily falling as snow, particularly towards the north. Even further south though, some winteriness quite likely. Elsewhere, staying largely dry through the rest of today and overnight, clear skies for many, allowing temperatures to plummet. It is going to be a cold, frosty start for many of us tomorrow, and there'll be some icy patches to watch out for as well. Starting off then across the northern half of Scotland, continuing to see more snow showers piling their way in, and these are going to lead to snow accumulating pretty high amounts in some places. Staying dry across central and southern Scotland, however. Across Northern Ireland, wintry showers coming in. Watch out for some icy patches as well. Similar across parts of Wales and southwest England, and down the eastern side of England, more wintry showers to watch out for. As we go through the day tomorrow, particularly over the North York Moors, we are expecting snow totals to really build up. We could see 15 to 25 centimetres above modest higher ground, and so that's enough to cause some significant disruption. Many places, however, away from the western, eastern and northern coastal parts, staying dry. Some sunshine on offer, but temperatures well below average for the time of year. A cold feel to things, even though the winds will be ever so slightly lighter than they are today. More wintry showers coming in from the north as we go through tomorrow evening and overnight, penetrating a bit further inland across parts of northeast England, and then a cold night to come as we go into Friday. A bright start for many of us on Friday, but rain arriving from the west, and then some wetter weather this weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on your say.
because when you talk, we listen.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A939 remains closed at the Snowgate at Tomintoul due to adverse weather. Drivers between Junction 45 Innisforgan and Junction 43 Landersea are facing congestion. In Staffordshire, the A38 northbound between the junctions with the A5121 Burton upon Trent North and the A5132 is experiencing 10-minute delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast reports disruption between Wigan North Western and Warrington Bank Quay. Great Western Railway faces delays between Westbury and Trowbridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Time is 4:37. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, let's see what you've been saying at home. Dennis says this: flags are divisive. Utter nonsense. And Bernadette adds this: flags cheer up our own cities, but we should accommodate Christmas decorations too. Hear, hear. Now, this is a brand new way to take part in the conversation by becoming a friend of GB News, and it's totally and utterly free. Take a look.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Yeah, please come and join us, become a GB News friend. Now, this story is going to blow your socks off because more than a dozen immigrants who attempted to cheat UK citizenship tests are still in Britain. GB News understands now one woman, Morris, was jailed for 4 years and 6 months for pretending to be 13 different men and women. There is you can see get that photograph back. That's Morris in a bunch of wigs pretending to be other immigrants, sitting down, cheating at these tests. It's almost funny. It's absurd. Joining us now is the former prisoner and a justice journalist, David Shipley. David, this story is utterly astonishing, and it just goes to show you the lunatics have taken over the asylum system, and now imposters taking immigration citizenship tests for other people. You couldn't make it up.
You couldn't. I think what's really astonishing is at the court case back in May, Josephine Morris was found guilty and sent to prison, rightly. And I thought I'd go and look into what has actually happened. What we've seen is that there are at least 14 people, according to the Home Office, who she pretended to be, so they could be granted citizenship or indefinite leave to remain. None of them been removed from the country. And it seems if they want to, they're allowed to reapply for citizenship. And one of them has actually done that. And that application is being considered. So even trying to cheat the system isn't grounds for being refused citizenship in the UK. And we apparently don't remove you from the country if you do it.
It's so bizarre, it's difficult to even get your head around how ridiculous this story is. So we have an individual, a fraudster, a convicted fraudster now in jail, Josephine Morris, turning up to sit citizenship tests for completely different people. Some of them are men, some of them are women. She's almost a trans cheat. She's pretending to be 14 different people, and even though they're failing the tests, she went to jail, but the people are still in the country and they haven't been kicked out. Please tell me that I've just lost the plot.
Well, it's bizarre, isn't it? And I think sometimes you just think, I can't possibly be reading this. This can't possibly be true. Surely cheating on a citizenship test must be a crime. Surely we wouldn't let people like that stay in the country, but we do. And this is, Morris turned up with these people's IDs in different cases. So she was eventually arrested with different people's driving licenses. So she obviously did it with their collusion. Of course she did. And yet they don't really seem to have faced many consequences. Some of them have had their citizenships they achieved as a result of Morris's cheating cancelled, but like I said, they can reapply and they're all still in the country and no one's been arrested by the police. It's just baffling. And I think in the week where we've had the Home Secretary talking about this big new policy on asylum, it seems that at the ground floor, the Home Office don't really care. And they're quite willing to just allow people to stay in the country, even when they try to cheat and become citizens through cheating.
And David Shipley, a Labour minister, Seema Malhotra, she said at the time that the fraudster had used, quote, sophisticated disguises. They've just got different wigs on. There's nothing sophisticated about this. It's about sophisticated as me putting a false moustache on and pretending I'm a completely different person.
Exactly. I think the reality is probably that the staff at these centres glance at the ID, don't really take much time to consider it, and just wave the person through. And that's, I suspect, how this has happened. So for all we know, these sorts of frauds could be going on all over the country. And, you know, and clearly there's no consequence. So why would you not cheat on this test if you think it might be a bit too difficult, or maybe your English language skills aren't up to it? You can pay someone to take the test for you. And even if you get caught, well, you can just have another go at it. It's absolutely appalling.
Well, David Shipley, anybody who cheats on these tests should be simply kicked straight out of the country, and anybody who cheats should get a severe amount of chokey. David Shipley, always a pleasure to have on the show. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, a Home Office spokesperson has said this: Morris's conviction shows that this government will use every tool at its disposal to root out abhorrent immigration offenders and ensure that they face the full force of the law. Nigel Nelson, you were watching in on that, aghast. This isn't sophisticated. It's a fraudster wearing a bunch of wigs.
Well, that's why I find it so astonishing. I mean, it is one of those stories that you think, have I actually heard this properly? In this particular case, quite clearly, policing these tests is not actually working very well. Obviously, you need better ID. Frankly, the tests themselves are fairly useless. They are like a bad pub quiz, badly designed, and I think they should get rid of them and get some proper citizenship tests sorted out, because they ask a load of historical questions that really don't matter to anybody. What does it matter for modern living if you know who won the Battle of Hastings, for instance? But those are the kind of questions that they're asking.
You shared one of those questions with me earlier on. You got a few of them there.
Yeah.
Just share a couple of questions quickly, if you could, because they're literally absurd.
All right. Motor racing started for the first time in Britain in 1896 or 1899 or 1930 or 1902.
Who cares? Pointless. It's got naff all to do with British citizenship.
It was actually 1902, and I thought it was the 1930s, so I got that wrong. When was the Book of Common Prayer first used by the Church of England? Under which reign?
You see, I failed that.
It's Edward VI. But, I mean, there are other questions like that. The BBC's first radio broadcast, what does that matter? When Queen Victoria came on the throne, but the best one, I think, is they ask about slavery, which obviously is an important subject, and it was the Emancipation Act of 1833 that got rid of it. If that had been the question, I'd have thought, yeah, that's possibly OK. Actually, the question is, after the Emancipation Act went through, how many Chinese and African immigrants came over to replace the slaves?
Utterly pointless. The entire thing sounds ridiculous, Nigel Nelson. It's not a pub quiz. This is meant to be earning the right to stay in Britain. Thank you, Nigel Nelson, very much indeed. Now, still to come, we'll be crossing to sunny Scotland as the Tartan Army are through to the World Cup for the first time in 28 years. Did anybody go to work in Scotland today? That's next.
Yeah, after Scotland put on a scorching performance that had us all sweating buckets, it's back to business as usual, and we're all absolutely freezing. So if you're like me and fancy a bit of winter sun, I've got just the thing. Let's have a look at the European weather.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
If you're looking to escape the cold weather in the UK, your best bet is Greece, where it will be warmer than average, albeit with some heavy showers. Cold, meanwhile, across Iberia, and that's because the same northerly winds affecting the UK over the next few days will bring colder than average weather to Spain, to Portugal. Just 9 degrees there in Barcelona. A band of rain through the Balearics into Italy, as well as parts of Greece. This actually intensifies during Friday and the weekend, with some very wet weather across Central Europe.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Camilla Tominey. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Me and my mum, and it looks real, doesn't it?
It isn't. I thought that was real when I first saw it.
Not that you'll be able to see it, but anyway, it's me and mum.
Things like that, AI is amazing, isn't it? Because your mum's no longer with us.
Yes.
You've got a lovely video of you hugging her.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Which is not real, but anyway. It's but I liked it. Like the idea, I thought they've done it very well.
Yeah.
It's quite. But good luck to kids learning to tell the difference between all of that.
Well, we are talking about education today. Lots of you getting in touch. Edmund says, my grandson ended up going to hospital with stress over his exams. GCSEs are too much, I think. They've gotten harder and harder. They're not like they were when I was at school. I only got 3 exams done at 16 and then I dropped out afterwards.
What, you get 3 exams at 16?
That's what Edmund got. He says GCSEs are much harder now.
We go.
Peter says some of us were self-sufficient at 15 years old. We were growing our own food, we were collecting fuel for our fires, and we had paper jobs, not playing with phones and on social media all the time.
That's a very good point. That's absolutely right. You know, people were fighting in the First World War and the Second World War at 15, 16, 17. And, you know, I mean, pressure. I mean, I just think I think we should teach kids to be more resilient.
Yes.
That's the thing. I think that you just can't say they've buckled and we see that as the latest stage. Some of you may agree with me, but I mean, everybody. I mean, how the heck? I could bore you silly, believe me, bore you silly with pressure and things you did for school and you know, what was expected. There was just no tolerance for any leniency in my school at all. But we got through it and I can say happiest days of my life still.
Well, maybe resilience needs to be taught in the national curriculum. Maybe it needs to be taught more
Resilience,
at home.
good idea. GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 4:49. I'm Martin Daubney. This, of course, is GB News. Now, Scotland, the mighty Jocks, they're through to the Men's World Cup for the first time in 28 years. Let's speak now to GB News Scotland reporter Tony Maguire from Glasgow. Tony, are they still drunk?
Well, you know, that's a question for the Scots, surely, Martin. And certainly I've been sober all day here in GB News, although the party atmosphere has been absolutely electric. You know, all the bars filling up once again. And certainly, I mean, this is such a generational event. 28 years since we qualified for France, 98. And I think the scoreline, the moves on the pitch, very much poetry in motion from the 3rd minute. Scott McTierney all the way to the 97th minute, where we saw that ball go in from the halfway line over Kasper Schmeichel. But look, it's not just me waxing lyrical here. I've been talking to people in Glasgow all day about the jubilation. Did you watch the game?
I watched the game, yeah.
And did you have a favourite goal?
I thought they were all good. I thought Kenny McLean's was good at the very end. I thought that just sealed it because we were under pressure.
By that time I thought, oh, we're through, it can't go on any longer. You know, the 8th minute of the 6 added minutes.
Scotland going back to the World Cup.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, is that all you've got? Yeah. Come on now.
There's always that anticipation, but for Scotland to actually do it, but in typical Scotland manner, they do it in the added on time at the end of the game.
So if they've improved from the Euros compared to last time, I mean, hopefully there's a benefit to Scotland. Hopefully they can get through to the knockout stages.
Absolutely tremendous. I watched the game last night. It was fabulous. I don't think anybody expected that result, but yeah, absolutely over the moon. Can't believe we've done it.
Now, as a man of culture, you'll appreciate the words of two famous brothers. You might know them by the Proclaimers, but we're on our way from misery to happiness today. And certainly now all that's left is for Jet2 Holidays to ramp up the price of the onboard whisky. But we'll see you next summer in the Americas.
Great stuff. Now, joining us now is the former Scotland international, Kevin Gallagher. Kevin, welcome to the show. You've got to be in Tartan dreamland. You played in that World Cup in 1998. You chalked up 3 appearances, as I understand it, and maybe you'd given up hope of ever qualifying again, but you've done it.
We've done it. It's not been, was it 7 campaigns now, 28 years? It'll be. It's a long, long time. And I certainly, when I played in the World Cup in 98, I wouldn't have thought there was another Scotland side 28 years later going and playing in a World Cup. I thought it would have been 4 years, but what a way to do it. You know, what a result they got. I wouldn't say it was the best performance, but the finish that they put in, the goals that was scored were unbelievable.
I'll tell you what, I think there's a lot of people today are making Scotland their new second team. I've always had no problem with Scotland. I used to love Kenny Dalglish. 1978 was my first big World Cup I remember. Scotland, superb. And listen, I remember as well in 98, you were 1-0 up against Brazil for a minute.
Well, I mean, the Brazil thing, I mean, they got the early goal. That was the worst of it. We're 1-0 down, actually. I mean, they scored early, which we were the best team in Europe defensively. And to lose a goal early against Brazil, you kind of think, well, this could be a nightmare. But we pulled back the game, get a penalty kick, and probably the first time in my life I can actually admit that I dived and got a penalty, and John Collins just picked the ball up, slotted it home, and, you know, it was history because we lost to a fluke on goal by Tom Boyd, but, you know, the memories are absolutely fantastic, just seeing that gold shirt in green, and you just go through the names, Taffarel, Cafu, Carlos, you know, Aldair, Rivaldo, Ronaldo, you know, you're going through Bebeto, Romario. I mean, you can just keep going, and the more I keep going, I'm thinking, is there a bad name going to come? But there doesn't seem to be a bad player in that team.
And Kevin, we've got a quick minute left, but look, dare to dream. But anyway, who cares? The Tartan Army are the best fans on earth. They're going to have a blast, whatever happens.
Ah, yeah, we've got a saying now in Scotland, no Scotland, no party. But Scotland are there now, so there'll be a big party. So whether it's for the first week of the campaign or whether it's longer, and hopefully it is going to be longer, you know, it is a big party. The Scotland fans know how to enjoy themselves. They go out, they have the party, they go to the games, they be disappointed, pick themselves up and party on again. So that's the way Scotland's done it. That's what we're known for.
Well, cherish the moment, and thanks for all you did back in the day. It's going to be a fantastic World Cup now for English fans and our buddies north of the border. Kevin Gallagher, thank you very, very much for joining us. Legend, thank you very, very much indeed. Now, still to come, a rebel alliance of 80 left-wing Labour MPs are plotting a coup against Sir Keir Starmer. Now, Clive Lewis has thrown his hat in the ring. Might there be a way back for Andy Burnham? Is it curtains for Sir Keir Starmer? That's next on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now things are going to turn by the weekend when things will be a bit wetter and also milder, but for the time being we're sticking with this cold Arctic theme, with air coming down from the north driving plenty of wintry showers. Now it's in areas exposed to this brisk northerly wind where we're seeing the showers, so northern parts of Scotland, down the eastern side of the UK and also western parts as well, so across Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, southwest England. A lot of the showers are going to be readily falling as snow, particularly towards the north. Even further south though, some winteriness quite likely. Elsewhere, staying largely dry through the rest of today and overnight. Clear skies for many, allowing temperatures to plummet. It is going to be a cold, frosty start for many of us tomorrow, and there'll be some icy patches to watch out for as well. Starting off then across the northern half of Scotland, continuing to see more snow showers piling their way in, and these are going to lead to snow accumulating pretty high amounts in some places. places. Staying dry across central and southern Scotland, however. Across Northern Ireland, wintry showers coming in. Watch out for some icy patches as well. Similar across parts of Wales and southwest England, and down the eastern side of England, more wintry showers to watch out for. As we go through the day tomorrow, particularly over the North York Moors, we are expecting snow totals to really build up. We could see 15 to 25 centimetres above modest higher ground, and so that's enough to cause some significant disruption. Many places, however, away from the western, eastern and northern coastal parts, staying dry. Some sunshine on offer, but temperatures well below average for the time of year. A cold feel to things, even though the winds will be ever so slightly lighter than they are today. More wintry showers coming in from the north as we go through tomorrow evening and overnight, penetrating a bit further inland across parts of northeast England, and then a cold night to come as we go into Friday. A bright start for many of us on Friday, but rain arriving from the west, and then some wetter weather this weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Adverse weather has closed the A939 at Tomintoul Snowgate. Heavy congestion persists on the M4 eastbound from Innisforgan to Landarcy. In Sunderland, a broken-down vehicle has closed one lane northbound on the A19. The A12 southbound in Essex is shut between junctions 15 and 12 due to a police incident. In Kent, a broken-down vehicle affects the M20 eastbound between junctions 3 and 4, with one lane closed. And on the trains, expect disruptions on Avanti West Coast between Wigan North Western and Warrington Bank Quay, and on Great Western Railway between Westbury and Trowbridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Very, very good afternoon to you. Happy International Men's Day. It's 5 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News. We're broadcasting live across the UK. All the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. And here's what's coming up on today's action-packed show. Breaking news from earlier on this afternoon. The serial rapist and the former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. And more chaos in politics for Sir Keir Starmer, this time as a rebel alliance of 80 left-wing Labour MPs is allegedly plotting a coup against the Prime Minister. Now, with even Keir Starmer's allies saying it's not if, it's when he goes. And also tonight, there's a hard left protest against Labour's racism. Oh, the PM's days numbered. And a top cop is being blasted by patriots after she claimed that St George's flags are, quote, tools of division. Of course they're not. I'll be joined by a flag campaigner who says this is an absolute disgrace. And Tesco has kicked off a festive fury by renaming their Christmas trees as evergreen trees. Well, the supermarket's move has been blasted as PC nonsense and woke stupidity. Well, I'll be joined by the legendary Mr. Christmas himself, who give a roasting to these Tesco turkeys. Infamy. Infamy. They've all got it. Infamy. Is Sir Keir Starmer in the crosshairs of a Labour coup from two different directions? 80 left-wing MPs plotting a coup against him. But the missing piece of the jigsaw is who could be the candidate? Well, the plot thickened this afternoon when Clive Lewis, the Labour MP for Norwich South, hinted very strongly that he would be prepared to sacrifice his seat to stand down and potentially allow Andy Burnham a route through the cat flap into Westminster. Could he be the man to take down Sir Keir Starmer? Are the knives drawn for Sir Keir Starmer? Is it only a matter of time before he now falls on his sword? Get in touch. GBNews.com/your say is the way to do so. We've got a huge hour ahead. Don't go anywhere. First, though, your headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. The top stories. Serial rapist and former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. The 50-year-old, who's already been jailed for life, has been convicted of molesting the girl in the late 1990s and raping the woman during a relationship more than 20 years later. Jurors at the Old Bailey found him guilty of 9 offences. Carrick is already serving a minimum term of 32 years in prison, having admitted 71 offences of sexual violence committed over a 17-year period. Detective Superintendent Ian Moore from Herts Police spoke this afternoon.
Both victims came forward to report further offences against Carrick after he was convicted of 49 offences against 12 women in February 2023. His convictions today are further proof, if any were needed, of the threat that he poses to women as a violent and controlling sex offender. During the trial, we heard Carrick's defence that his victims had made up lies based on the media coverage of his previous convictions. But the jury did not believe these false claims and instead believed his victims' accounts and that he is a dangerous and abusive man. I hope this case will give anyone who's been a victim of sexual assault or rape and has not reported it the courage to come forward.
Elsewhere, Kemi Badenoch took aim at the government's budget plans at Prime Minister's questions today. The Conservative leader accused Labour of letting next week's budget unravel before it's even been published, demanding the Prime Minister to rule out freezing income tax thresholds.
This is the first budget to unravel before it's even been delivered. The Chancellor's cluelessness, I'm afraid, is damaging the economy now. The Prime Minister needs to end this shambles. So can he confirm today that he won't break another promise by freezing income tax thresholds?
Sir Keir Starmer argued the Tories have no standing to lecture anyone on tax or living standards after years of economic turbulence.
What we won't do is inflict austerity on the country as they did. Cause huge. What we won't do is inflict a borrowing spree like Liz Truss did. They left waiting lists at record highs. Almost 1 million more children in poverty, and they wrecked our public services. She comes here to talk down the country. We're turning the page.
UK inflation has dipped to its lowest level in 4 months, dropping to 3.6% as easing energy costs take the pressure off household bills. Economists say the sharper-than-expected fall puts the pre-Christmas rate cut firmly on the table, despite food prices creeping back up, especially bread, cereals and meat. The ONS says slowing gas and electricity rises were the biggest factor behind the drop, even as families still feel the squeeze. Rachel Rees reacted to the news.
I do recognise that there's more that we need to do to tackle the cost of living challenges, and that's why one of the 3 priorities in my budget next week is to tackle the cost of living.
In other news, a man has been charged with further offences following a mass stabbing in Huntington earlier this month. 32-year-old Anthony Williams now faces accusations of trying to kill a 14-year-old boy, a 22-year-old man and attempting to seriously injure another, all in separate incidents across Peterborough on the same day. He's also charged with common assault on board a train between Hitchin and Biggleswade, on top of the counts already authorised over the Huntington attack. Williams is due in court this afternoon. Gunmen have attacked a church in Nigeria, killing at least 2 people and kidnapping the pastor and some worshippers days after 25 girls were abducted from a boarding school. The attack last night in Eruku, a town in central Nigeria's Kwara state, puts more pressure on the government, which is under scrutiny from US President Donald Trump, who has threatened military action over what he says is the persecution of Christians. Rapper Nicki Minaj appealed yesterday for global action to defend religious freedom. Speaking at the US mission to the United Nations, she said Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes and killed. And snow is blanketing parts of the UK as a cold snap brings freezing conditions and possible travel disruption. The Met Office has multiple yellow warnings for snow and ice in force today and a more severe amber warning kicking in tomorrow. Dozens of schools are closed in northern parts of Scotland. Cold health alerts are active across England until Saturday, warning of significant risks for vulnerable people. Authorities are urging everyone to keep warm, take care on the roads and to check in on friends, family and neighbours. And those are the latest headlines. For now, more in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a snap of the markets. The pound will buy you $1.3074, 1.1333 euros. The price of gold, £3,118.96 per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,524 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Tatiana. Let's return now to the breaking news this afternoon. And it's this: the former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and also a former partner. Well, joining us now in the studio to bring us fully up to speed is GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, David Carrick, a monster, already serving a significant tariff, now facing these additional charges. Presumably this monster will never see the light of day on British streets again.
I think that's highly likely. He would be in his 80s before he would be eligible for parole anyway, and I think it's likely that that will be added to the tariff in light of these latest charges, especially molestation of a girl who was 12 years old at the time, in the late 80s, when he repeatedly molested her over the period of a couple of years. He has now been found guilty of those charges, along with charges of rape, sexual assault and controlling and coercive behaviour towards a former partner of his who he had been in a relationship with for a number of years. They came forward after seeing the convictions, the successful convictions against him a couple of years back. 71 separate counts of sexual offences relating to 12 women, making him one of the most prolific sexual offenders in this country. And of course, a former police officer in a position of trust. He used that position of trust in the same way that Wayne Couzens, who went on to abduct, rape and murder Sarah Everard and was in the same unit as this former officer did, used their position within the police to gain trust, to abuse the women they were in relationships with as well. We've been hearing just a short time ago from Shilpa Shah, a senior prosecutor at the Crown Prosecution Service. This is what she said.
He was committing these offences behind closed doors, and he had a facade that he created for the rest of the world. Nobody knew what he was doing behind those doors. He was very clever in how he behaved, and so it was as a result of that no one picked up on what he was doing. Of course, we've got to also remember that the first victim in this case was a 12-year-old child at the time who was traumatised and terrified. She managed to disclose to someone, but of course she didn't report it to the police at the time. As soon as she did, of course, the police did investigate the matter.
And for the Metropolitan Police, of course, it brings back that most horrific of episodes when he was first convicted, when Wayne Couzens was convicted, when Cressida Dick, the former Metropolitan Police Commissioner, had to resign because of all this. It brought around all these accusations of misogynistic and inappropriate behaviour within the Met, something they're desperately trying to move on from, but the headlines are back there again today.
Thank you, Mark White, bringing us up to speed. David Carrick probably will never see freedom again in the United Kingdom. Thank you, Mark White. Now back to politics. And the Prime Minister today is vowing to fight any leadership challenge as he faces a potential rebellion ahead of a very difficult budget. Now, it's rumoured as many as 80 left-wing Labour MPs are reportedly gathering to put forward a candidate to help replace Sir Keir Starmer. I'm joined in the studio by GB News' political correspondent Catherine Forster, as well as GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Catherine, let's start with you. There seems to be a twin-pronged attack today. First of all, the 80 members of the so-called Tribune group, and then Clive Lewis has spoken this afternoon, the Labour MP for Norwich South, because, of course, the whole talk is, well, who could be the candidate? And could that be Andy Burnham? Andy Burnham presently isn't, of course, an MP. He's the mayor of Manchester, but he could stand in a by-election, and that could look increasingly likely today.
Well, possibly. I was in Prime Minister's questions and I was struck by just how loud the cheering was behind the Prime Minister. And I thought to myself, you're cheering very loudly, but we know that Labour MPs are deeply unhappy. Many of them see that they're going to be out of a job at the next election, and as things currently stand. And some of them are actively plotting to get rid of the Prime Minister and replace him. Now, reports today that this Tribune group have indeed got 80, which is the number they would need to have a challenge, to put forward somebody else to a vote to stand against the Prime Minister. But the difficulty is for them that they don't really have a candidate. Could it be that Andy Burnham, who of course currently doesn't qualify because he's the Mayor of Greater Manchester, doesn't have a seat, might have a way back? Because Clive Lewis, the Labour MP for Norwich South, spoke a little bit earlier. Let's have a look at what he said.
Is Andy Burnham up for this?
You have to ask Andy Burnham.
Have you spoken to him?
I have spoken to Andy Burnham, yeah.
But I'm not sure if he wants to move to Norwich, but would you give up your seat
It's
for him?
a question I've asked myself, and I'd have to obviously consult with my wife as well and family. But you know what? You know, if I'm going to sit here and say, you know, country before party, party before personal ambition, then yes, I have to say yes, don't I?
You give up your seat for Andy Burnham?
I would, yeah.
There you go. He said, yes, I would. Yes, I would stand down to allow Andy Burnham to come in on a by-election. The writing's on the wall for Sir Keir Starmer, is it?
Well, he said that, but subsequently he has said, look, that was a hypothetical. I've got no plans to stand down. But I think what is interesting is if one Labour MP, ideally for Andy Burnham in the Greater Manchester area, was to decide to sacrifice their seat in the interests, as they might see it, of getting Andy Burnham in. They only need one. And the polling suggests that replacing the Prime Minister with various other people, that nobody would poll better than the Prime Minister, except for one man. That man is Andy Burnham.
And today there could be a cat flap opened down there in Norwich South. The problem, of course, might be Norwich South is polling heavily towards the Greens. So it's not a safe seat for Andy Burnham to take. Zach Polanski might throw his hat in the ring.
Yes, it would not be the ideal seat for Andy Burnham. First of all, he is the self-styled King of the North and 16 million people in the north of England. I think there is a lot of support for him in the north. Moving over to Norwich, I don't think would go down terribly well. And would he win it? Because, as you've said, there's a big threat for the Greens. Zach Polanski, very popular. The Greens are surging in the polls. So I suspect this is not the right seat for him. But some other Labour MP might decide.
Catherine Forster, thank you very much. And I'm delighted to be joined by my next guest now. That's the columnist and the author, Lord Daniel Finkelstein. Lord Finkelstein, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your esteemed company. You've written an excellent column in The Times. The headline is self-explanatory. It's now common knowledge Sir Keir Starmer's on the rocks. Tell us why.
Well, I just think that the briefing that these people gave set off everybody into a position where they now know that he's weak. So before, everybody kind of individually intuited it, but it was their decision to put that effectively into the public domain. And I think that put him at a lot greater risk. The real reason, Martin, why he's in a lot of trouble is because he's so unpopular. I mean, when a political party goes down below 20%, and this is one of the reasons why, you know, Kemi Badenoch's also had people saying she would be removed as leader. But when you're Prime Minister and you started with 33%, you're polling regularly below 20%, of course your party is going to look at it and think, I'm going to lose my seat, my friends are going to lose their seats, we have to do something. And when the leadership of the party then effectively sort of briefs out that Keir Starmer knows that he's in trouble, it tells all of those people, you know, you can start talking to each other. Everybody knows that he's in trouble, and everybody knows that everybody knows. It's something that people can act on when previously they might have held, you know, stayed their hand.
Lord Finkelstein, there is a chilling comparison in your article. You've mentioned a emperor's new clothes moment where everybody knew that the emperor was naked. There's perilous thoughts of Keir Starmer in that position. I digress. But it took the child to say, you're not wearing any clothes. And you're saying that Morgan McSweeney and the briefing going out there is that moment when now everyone's talking about there being a coup.
Yes, the briefing was that moment. And he was in a lot of trouble before that, but it existed in silos. Everybody knew it. You know, if you would talk about it to one or two people, but what we didn't appreciate is that everybody knew what everybody knew, and that is a big transition, and I think it was a big political error. I understand why they did it. What they were trying to do, Martin, was put off exactly the sort of talk you've just had. They were trying to put off people from running by saying he's not going to give up easily, he'll fight you, and that would put people off. It would make it look risky. But in the process, they injected the whole issue into the public debate in a way that's very difficult for them. So I think the chances were always quite high that there'd be a challenge. Now that I think they are extremely high, I don't think it's going to take the Clive Lewis route for all the reasons that, you know, you've just very ably outlined. It'll be a seat in the north. If Andy Burnham comes in, it's very difficult. Andy Burnham would lose any by-election in which he didn't explicitly run as the anti-Keir Starmer candidate, because I don't think a pro-Keir Starmer candidate can win a by-election anywhere. And if he does that, the Labour Party will probably stop him running, even if the seat was vacated. So while Keir Starmer retains control of the National Executive Committee, which is the party body that allows the selection of candidates for by-elections, I think it's very difficult for Andy Burnham. And then you start to ask the question, well, who will it be? And that becomes much more difficult.
And Lord Finkelstein, if it were to be a by-election where the future Labour leadership candidate would be up for grabs, what a by-election that would be. Reform would try and stop that happening. The Greens would try and stop it happening. It would be the mother of all by-elections. But if we're not talking about not the how, but the when, when do you think the coup might be most likely to move against the Prime Minister?
I think the most likely moment is after the local elections. But I think, in fact, let me just revise that. I think that is the most likely moment if the issue is going to be merely electability. But actually, any candidate would prefer to have a real issue to go at, something like immigration policy or tax policy. I think that if Rachel Reeves had put up income tax, the breaking of their election promise might have been the stimulus. The candidate likes to have something where they can say, well, look, I've got to do this on principle. Just simply running because you think your party is going to lose an election, that's not actually that good. I think after the May elections, what could happen is that the cabinet together, using the coordination that this briefing has enabled, people will begin to talk to each other, and several people, possibly led by Wes Streeting and Shabana Mahmood, will go to Keir Starmer and say, I don't think you can win an election. And whatever he's been briefing, I think, you'll be aware that after the Hartlepool by-election, when he was leader of the opposition, he seriously contemplated resigning. And I think he would seriously consider any approach that was made to him like that.
Fascinating stuff, it really, really is. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have your company. Columnist and the author there, that's Lord Daniel Finkelstein. Thank you very much. Nigel Nelson, a quick retort from you on this. It does feel like the manoeuvres are out there, the storm clouds are gathering, and it seems now it's not a case of if, but when.
Yeah, I think it probably is. It probably is, and that's thanks to that briefing last week that actually kicked all this off, as Danny just said. He also makes the point that this is very difficult. No Labour Prime Minister who has been challenged has ever been ousted. It's very hard to do if they decide to stay put. The question then is whether or not, a bit like Margaret Thatcher, a group of cabinet ministers go to Keir Starmer and say, look, mate, time up, I think that you should quit. That opens a whole different way of doing things.
Fascinating stuff, and it's incredible to think that the Home Office at 6 p.m. in about 40 minutes' time, there's a demonstration by Stand Up to Racism against Labour's racism. What a day to be alive. White middle-class socialists telling Shabana Mahmood, stop being a racist. Nigel Nelson, Catherine Fawcett, thank you very, very much. Superb as ever. Now it's time now for the Great British Giveaway. And there's just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to enjoy Christmas on us at GB News. Here's how.
It's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, still to come, a GB News exclusive next. Our very own Ben Leo. Astonishing story. He went on an immigration raid with the ICE unit in Florida with Donald Trump's officials. Superb story. That's next with me, Martin Daubney, on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. Your time is 5:26 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now to a GB News exclusive. The Late Show Live's Ben Leo has been on an immigration raid this morning. He went on a ride-along with ICE, that's right, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials in Florida, where he witnessed a number of busts. Take a look at our exclusive behind-the-scenes footage.
So I reckon it's been quite a successful morning here in southwest Florida. We haven't got the main target, who was a Guatemalan guy accused of international cocaine smuggling, but they pulled over 2 vehicles in 2 separate stops and they got 6 illegal migrants out of the country, so they weren't the main priority. One guy here being loaded into the car. So the search goes on for the international cocaine smuggler, but yes, as I said, 6 illegal migrants rounded up, alleged illegal migrants. They did AI facial recognition checks, and it's pretty much confirmed they shouldn't be in the country. They'll be detained, they'll be processed, they'll be kicked out. Is this the kind of thing we need in the UK? Roadside stops, a bit of action, a bit of intent, because at the moment we're putting them in hotels, giving them bus passes, giving them days out to Arsenal games, NHS dentistry. Is this what you want to see instead?
Well, there we go. ICE, ICE, baby. You can watch the full behind-the-scenes ICE raid tonight at midnight, exclusively on The Late Show Live. Ben Leo, of course, will join our other host, the beautiful Bev Turner. Well, let's discuss that back in the studio. I'm joined by GB News' political correspondent Catherine Forster and GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Catherine, the question that's passed Ben Leo's lips there was, is this the kind of raid, the kind of tactics that we would like to see in the United Kingdom? The Overton window has shifted significantly this week, so much so that Stand Up to Racism are protesting tonight against the Labour Party. Are we ready for those kind of busts on British streets, do you think?
It is quite incredible, isn't it, how public opinion has shifted, and look what's happened in America. There'll be plenty of people at home, I suspect, thinking this would be a good thing here. There'll also be other people that will be horrified. But controversy this week about the notion that under the government's new asylum plans, children born in the UK to refugee parents could be deported under these plans. Now, the government says it doesn't want to give a perverse incentive for refugees to have kids here so that they get to stay. But people like Lord Dubs, who obviously came here after fleeing the Nazis, have accused Shabana Mahmood of using children as a weapon and said that it's a shabby thing, and he is very depressed by this. I think it is extraordinary to hear the language that Labour are now using, something that you wouldn't have expected from them. But look, they realise that this is an existential challenge to the party and to them remaining in government, just as it was to the Conservatives. The Conservatives failed to get a grip of it. Look what happened to them. And Labour, many Labour MPs realise that the writing is on the wall for them if they in turn fail on this as well.
Nigel Nelson, I put it to you, a lot of people watching this show certainly would welcome boots going through doors at barber shops, at vape shops, at clearly bogus industries that are on practically every high street in Britain and having ICE-style raids. But back to this notion that it's somehow akin to Nazi Germany to deport people's children, surely that's a good idea. I mean, Donald Trump did that because they called angel children in the States. And that is, if you go to a country, even illegally, and have a child, it gives you an automatic right to remain. If everyone knows that, they're just going to game the system.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we shouldn't do is imagine that we can copy other countries, whether it's America or Australia, and bring that system to this country, largely because conditions are completely different.
ECHR.
Well, no, it's not just about the laws. It's just about the way things work. Australia had a completely different system. They were able to turn boats back because there were 150 miles of international waters there. In America, you're sending them south across a border.
Yeah, but get back to this, putting boots through the doors of dodgy barber shops. Surely it's a good thing.
Well, I mean, the police are doing just that.
Are they?
Yes, because they're going around where they can find illegal working, and they would put a boot through a door to get in. So that part is happening.
I guarantee you there'll be thousands and thousands of people watching the show right now who've got multiple barber shops on their high streets and they haven't seen a damn thing happen from the authorities.
Maybe not, but I mean, raids have been going on. The number of raids have been going up, looking for illegal workers, and those are the places they're doing it. When you talk about children, we're in a slightly different ball game here, which is where I think Shabana Mahmood might run into trouble. At the moment, she's talking about no settlement here for 20 years. Now, in 20 years, you're talking about people who may have a child of 18, another child of 19, born in this country, lived in this country for all that time, who might then get thrown out.
Well, if the parents came here illegally, maybe that's on them. Nigel, Catherine, we have to leave it there and been told we must move on. Now, let's see what you've been saying at home today on the topic, of course, of that potential coup to Sir Keir Starmer. Linda says, the clown show keeps going. We don't want a repeat of the Tories going through every leader under the sun. Lucia adds this. Andy Burnham is no better than Sir Keir Starmer. I've had enough. Well, it's a brand new way to take part in the conversation by becoming a friend of GB News, and it's totally free. Here's how you can get involved.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on your say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Go on, come and be our friend. You know you want to. Now, still to come, a top cop has been blasted by patriots after she claimed the St George's flags are tools of division. Well, I'll be joined by a flag campaigner who says this is an absolute disgrace. But first, it's your traffic and your travel update. Please stick with us.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A726 westbound after Mearns Junction before the M77 has lane restrictions due to a broken down vehicle. The A55 is closed westbound from J7A Landfair PG to Junction 7 CFN due with local diversions. In Sunderland, the A19 northbound between the A1031 and A184 has delays. The A38 southbound in Derbyshire between the A50 and A5132 faces congestion. The M20 eastbound in Kent between Junction 3 and Junction 4 has lane closures. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast faces disruption between Wigan North Western and Warrington Bank Quay. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon. The top stories from the GB newsroom. Serial rapist and former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. The 50-year-old, who has already been jailed for life, has been convicted of molesting the girl in the late 1990s and raping the woman during a relationship more than 20 years later. Inflation has dipped to 3.6%, the last reading before next week's budget. Rachel Reeves says it's good news. The Conservatives accuse Labour of fuelling higher prices. Opposition parties and campaign groups are urging Rachel Reeves to target the wealthy instead of broad tax rises in her budget. The Chancellor is reportedly considering higher property taxes on the most valuable homes. And the UK must step up to a more dangerous world, John Healey says, revealing a Russian spy ship has been sitting on the edge of UK waters. The Yantar, designed to map undersea cables, allegedly shone lasers at RAF pilots amid rising incursions, drone disruptions and 90,000 cyber attacks on UK systems. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me at the top of the hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now things are going to turn by the weekend when things will be a bit wetter and also milder, but for the time being we're sticking with this cold Arctic theme, with air coming down from the north driving plenty of wintry showers. Now it's in areas exposed to this brisk northerly wind where we're seeing the showers, so northern parts of Scotland, down the eastern side of the UK and also western parts as well, so across Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, southwest England. A lot of the showers are going to be readily falling as snow, particularly towards the north. Even further south though, some winteriness quite likely. Elsewhere, staying largely dry through the rest of today and overnight. Clear skies for many, allowing temperatures to plummet. It is going to be a cold, frosty start for many of us tomorrow, and there'll be some icy patches to watch out for as well. Starting off then across the northern half of Scotland, continuing to see more snow showers piling their way in, and these are going to lead to snow accumulating pretty high amounts in some places. Staying dry across central and southern Scotland, however. Across Northern Ireland, wintry showers coming in. Watch out for some icy patches as well. Similar across parts of Wales and southwest England, and down the eastern side of England, more wintry showers to watch out for. As we go through the day tomorrow, particularly over the North York Moors, we are expecting snow totals to really build up. We could see 15 to 25 centimetres above modest higher ground, and so that's enough to cause some significant disruption. Many places, however, away from the western, eastern and northern coastal parts, staying dry. Some sunshine on offer, but temperatures well below average for the time of year. A cold feel to things, even though the winds will be ever so slightly lighter than they are today. More wintry showers coming in from the north as we go through tomorrow evening and overnight, penetrating a bit further inland across parts of northeast England, and then a cold night to come as we go into Friday. A bright start for many of us on Friday, but rain arriving from the west, and then some wetter weather this weekend.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back. Time is 5:39. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a police chief has said that the display of national flags on Britain streets has become, quote, a tool of division and intimidation. Have you heard anything like it in your life? Well, I'm joined in the studio by the flag campaigner, James Holmes, who, of course, has hoisted a 100-foot flag in Chesterfield on a property he owns. We'll get a picture of that in a moment. Also, for a counterpoint, I'm joined by GB News' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. 3 hours of arguing with me, of course. It is Wednesday. Let's start with you, James Holmes. How on earth can a top copper be offended by a flag?
Well, I would actually say that if the flag of the country that you live in, the country where you earn your living in, where you're probably going to retire in, your kids go to school in, actually offends you, either you should go and get a therapist, or maybe you should consider moving to a country whose flag doesn't offend you. Doesn't seem that difficult a thing to figure out for me. So what I actually think they're doing is, this is a typical woke liberal speaking on behalf of other people that they don't even deal with.
James, on our screens now we can see a magnificent flag. It's gigantic. It's perhaps the biggest flag I've ever seen. It's a mega flag. This was erected by yourself, 100-foot flag there at a building you own in Chesterfield, presumably if the likes of Emily Spurrell, the chairwoman of the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, drove past your property there, she'd collapse in a fit of vapours.
She'd be shook, as one person told me, shook going past it. Not for her, because she's doing quite well for herself, but maybe for the non-white people, as it was explained to me, who work in the NHS, who give a world-class service, despite us having longer waiting lists than we've ever had and more money being spent on the NHS than ever. But the irony is, of all the people that I see, and I get lots of people papping the roots at me, waving at me, saying what a good thing that we're doing, that's from all ethnicities. This is a typical lefty speaking on behalf of other people that she hasn't necessarily even spoken to. Because the reality is, a lot of these people, because I'm bringing this up now because there was an NHS chief just the other day said that they found that staff were now being told that the no-go areas where the St George's
That was in the Derby area, yeah.
If that is the case, why did they come to this particular country for work? Did they come here because it was work, because it was a safe country? Surely they must have realised that in this country they would fly the flag of this country. So from my experience, the people that these lefty wokes are trying to speak on behalf of, they don't even know, really. They are not even dealing with. But even if that is the issue, instead of us spending £100 million on these police and crime commissioners, who this lady is obviously the chair of the association of, so that's clearly worthwhile money, isn't it? Who hasn't held any chief executives to account for two-tier policing, for not turning up for burglaries, for turning up for non-crime, hate crimes, raiding people's houses at night. Why isn't that money instead spent training our best and brightest so that we have got ample doctors and nurses within the NHS of British ethnicity, but then so we export those doctors and nurses to help other countries rather than stealing their best and brightest? We should be exporting medical ships, not warships. We should be spending this £100 million training our best and brightest to help other people around the world.
James Holmes, can I just give you a tip? Next time you come on, speak your mind a bit more. I just think you're being weighty. You've got splinters on your backside for sitting on the fence there. Nigel Nelson, on a serious point, I suspect you're going to be siding here with the pearl clutcher Emily Spurrell. It's just a flag. Why get in such a flap?
Well, I think the point that she was making as a police and crime commissioner, who James would be pleased to know are going to be abolished anyway, Perfect. So they're disappearing, that it would be a police matter in the event that flags did cause divisiveness, did cause tension, and as a result there was any kind of... Well, if they did...
It's the wokerati who get upset by it.
But we come back to where the flag started from, that they coincided, the campaign coincided with being put up outside, with people turning up outside asylum hotels and protesting, and with a lot of flags. In the event that people saw the flags as part of that, that could be seen as divisive. I mean, when you put your flag up, what was your main thought about putting the huge Union Jack there?
I don't have to have a main thought about it, because this is Great Britain. At the end of the day, this idea about, they're putting flags up outside of these asylum hotels is completely irrelevant. It's like somebody said to me, why now? Well, I'll tell you why now. Because we are quite literally losing the culture of this country. We are both being invaded and the country is being given away by our own government. So why now? Why at any time? This is the flag of this country. This is not an ISIS flag. This is not some horror movie put onto a flag to try and scare people. This is the flag of the country that these people are earning their living in, and the people that are choosing to come here and be in these asylum hotels.
But that, James, is suggesting a political motive behind it.
It is the flag of the country that we are sat in now, that you are living in. What do you think a flag represents if it does not represent this country?
Yeah, it's not so much about flying the flag, which is fine. What I'm asking about is whether the idea of sticking them up on lampposts outside my house, for instance, there's a load of St George's flags, is that a political statement?
So are you saying we need to get permission from each person that might be near a lamppost with that flag on?
I'm fine. Look, listen, I'm fine about it. I don't care either way. I don't care whether the flag's there, whether the flag's not.
We've been moaning about it for months. Of course you care.
Well, no, I haven't. I've always said that I've not minded the fact that they're there. I think it's the right decision by the local council and the parish council and the police to leave them where they stand. What I'm asking really is whether this is a political statement or not. If you're saying it's about unity, it's about celebrating the cultural diversity in the country,
if it is a political...
I'm not saying it's any of that. No. What I'm saying is it is this country. It is this country. It is the flag of this country. Any flag is there to represent... What is any symbol? A symbol is to represent something without words. So this is quite simply just the flag of this country. We're not trying to make any political statement, and I don't think you should be trying to put words in my mouth by saying that.
James, do you know what? I came in today in a cab, and this debate was on a rival and a far inferior broadcaster, and I was driven by a Portuguese driver. He said, England is pathetic. That's what he said. He went, we fly our flags all over the place in Portugal. It would never occur to anybody in Portuguese to have an argument about your flag. He went, what has happened to Britain? This is the Portuguese man. Do you know what? I totally agree with him. What has happened to Britain? You can't be offended selectively by a flag. Tough. It's our country. The flag should be allowed to fly, but we can agree to disagree. It is Wednesday. Nigel Nelson, superb stuff, and James Holmes. Once again, thank you for being guarded in your comments today, James. Superb to have your company. Thank you. And moving swiftly onwards, Merry Christmas, or more like Merry Wokemas. Find out why shortly, but first, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Oh, this is a Tesco Christmas.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking to escape the cold weather in the UK, your best bet is Greece, where it will be warmer than average, albeit with some heavy showers. Cold, meanwhile, across Iberia, and that's because the same northerly winds affecting the UK over the next few days will bring colder than average weather to Spain, to Portugal. Just 9 degrees there in Barcelona. A band of rain through the Balearics into Italy, as well as parts of Greece. This actually intensifies during Friday and the weekend with some very wet weather across Central Europe.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
There's a lot of tables out there that won't just have turkey on it. There'll be turkey and ham, and but I know some people that will cook 3 or 4 different meats. And obviously the joy of having turkey is that you can then make a turkey curry for Boxing Day and the subsequent days. So, you know, you should be having days of curry after your turkey lunch. I think for the masses, it's still hugely popular. You know, through the festive period at the Dog, we will have hundreds of people having Christmas parties, and most of them will order our turkey lunch or dinner. And then Christmas Day, we could sell it probably 3 or 4 times. The demand for people to go out for the traditional turkey roast is still massive. But hey, look, if you don't like a roast lunch, then why force yourself to have it on the, you know, probably one of the most important meals of the day in terms of bringing family together.
What about Sophie's point, Mark, about cost and spending £30, £40 on turkey? That is simply too expensive for lots of people.
Yeah, I'll never be able to defend or debate that. You know, I know more than anyone the challenges around food inflation, and a good turkey has become a huge cost. But I still think where people can afford the tradition, the joy of coming together, sharing a big turkey roast meal it's a brilliant Christmas tradition. But yeah, the food inflation, that's something we've talked about a number of times, isn't it? You know, it's crippling our business and it's crippling people at homes. I suppose the key thing to look at is if you know what you're doing with it, a good turkey will feed the family for many days. It's not just one meal.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
It's 10 to 6, and Tesco, the supermarket, has kicked off a festive fury by renaming their Christmas trees as evergreen trees. Now, the supermarket's move has been blasted as PC nonsense and woke stupidity. Well, who better to speak to about this than the legendary Mr. Christmas? And of course, that's Andy Pogg. Andy, look at this. It's always Christmas with you. You've always got a glass in your hand. Beautiful to see you.
Martin.
It certainly has. It's been very good. I hope you haven't been in the loft all year, Andy Pogg. Sorry, it's an obvious joke I had to make. On a serious point, what are Tesco playing at, calling it an evergreen tree?
Well, I know it's absolutely crazy. I've done me a little bit of research. I've been to a couple of pubs. I went to see my mate James at the Pilot. I said, what would you do if you have an evergreen tree there instead of a Christmas tree? He said, what? The customers wouldn't like it for a start, so it's definitely no. Then I went to Trowbridge to see Regan, the ground in Trowbridge. I tell you what, she said, well, it'd be like a garden centre. You know, it just wasn't popular, put it that way. Definitely not popular. You wouldn't like one in your house, surely, Martin, would you?
No, absolutely not. Well, the thing is, it's not evergreen, is it? Because people don't put up a Christmas tree all blooming year. It's up at Christmas. It's a Christmas tree. That's the end of it, Andy.
Yeah, of course it is. Look at my Christmas tree. That's how it should be. All lit up, beautiful, and you know it's a Christmas tree. But, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I'm sure they'll change their mind about this after this little article. Don't you think so?
I think they do. Andy, can I ask you, do you have your Christmas tree up all year? Does it ever go down?
I keep it up there all year round. I've got one here, one in the conservatory. If I took it down, it wouldn't be Christmas every day, because that's what I do. I have Christmas Day every day. Without a Christmas tree, there's no Christmas.
Andy Pogg, it's beautiful to see you again. It's beautiful to see you. It truly is. Great to see your tree. Great to see you there. Thank you very much. Thank you, mate. Yeah. See you again soon. Before Christmas gets stuck in. Nigel Nelson, it's been great to have your company and the entire show today. Whatever Andy Pogg's drinking, I'd like a glass of that. I think every day is eggnog day with that fella there. But look, coming up next, something worth definitely always toasting to us. Jubes and Co, the queen of primetime debate, Michelle Dewberry. What's on your menu? She's not here. Nigel Nelson, what is it with you? Michelle Dewberry is up next, but she's not here for the teas. What do you make of this Christmas tree nonsense? Why call it an evergreen tree? It's clearly ridiculous.
No, it is ridiculous. I'm against that. I mean, I think that there's a bit too much Christmas too early. I got fed up in August when I was seeing Christmas stuff in the supermarket. I don't think they should go up till December. But no, a Christmas tree is a Christmas tree, and Muslim friends of mine always wish me a happy Christmas, nothing else.
Superb stuff. Well, up next is Jubes & Co. The angel, always a top our tree. Jubes & Co. She's up next.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now things are going to turn by the weekend when things will be a bit wetter and also milder, but for the time being we're sticking with this cold Arctic theme with air coming down from the north driving plenty of wintry showers. Now it's in areas exposed to this brisk northerly wind where we're seeing the showers, so northern parts of Scotland, down the eastern side of the UK and also western parts as well, so across Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, southwest England. A lot of the showers are going to be readily falling as snow, particularly towards the north. Even further south, though, some winteriness quite likely. Elsewhere, staying largely dry through the rest of today and overnight. Clear skies for many, allowing temperatures to plummet. It is going to be a cold, frosty start for many of us tomorrow, and there'll be some icy patches to watch out for as well. Starting off then across the northern half of Scotland, continuing to see more snow showers piling their way in, and these are going to lead to snow accumulating pretty high amounts in some places. Staying drier across central and southern Scotland, however. Across Northern Ireland, wintry showers coming in. Watch out for some icy patches as well. Similar across parts of Wales and southwest England, and down the eastern side of England, more wintry showers to watch out for. As we go through the day tomorrow, particularly over the North York Moors, we are expecting snow totals to really build up. We could see 15 to 25 centimetres above modest higher ground, and so that's enough to cause some significant disruption. Many places, however, away from the western, eastern and northern coastal parts, staying dry. Some sunshine on offer, but temperatures well below average for the time of year. A cold feel to things, even though the winds will be ever so slightly lighter than they are today. More wintry showers coming in from the north as we go through tomorrow evening and overnight, penetrating a bit further inland across parts of northeast England, and then a cold night to come as we go into Friday. A bright start for many of us on Friday, but rain arriving from the west, and then some wetter weather this weekend.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Disruptions on the A77 near Mearns due to a stalled vehicle are affecting westbound lanes before the M77. Motorists should expect diversions on the A55 between junctions near Lanfair PG and CEFN Do. The A12 southbound between junction 15 and 12 is shut due to a police matter. Traffic on the M25 anti-clockwise is heavy between junction 9 and 8. The A38 southbound in Derbyshire has 20-minute hold-ups. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast reports disturbances between Wigan North Western and Warrington Bank Quay. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the